Welcome to the Theory of DFS podcast. I'm Jordan Cooper, the co author of The Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass you can find at theoryofdfs.com. Join with me, Neil Orfield, from awesomeo.com, doing the shows over there. On Saturday, you had 100K in NBA, and I was going to ask you, with the way NBA is going, I mean, I've played late season NBA before in DFS. I haven't played the summer league stuff, where who knows who's playing. But how the hell do you manage 150 lineups? I'm not playing, but I see the alerts on Twitter and everything, and I see who the injury report is 400 pages long, and teams are signing guys off the street. Uh, Are you just trusting? Do you just trust whoever makes the projections and just whatever it happens to be at 657? It's just I'm
Yeah.
going with it, and then I'm gonna refresh it before every game and just swap to what I just. I'm just not even gonna. I couldn't even fathom just like if you know the NBA down to like the nuts and bolts. I think you could possibly have a very big edge, but I'm not sure how you by the time you come out of that without shooting yourself in the head in the process. So are you just like basically whatever the Awesemo projections say, just you'll update them and switch them around I
Yeah.
just
So
can't fathom how you go about every 3 minutes there's four guys out due to COVID and three guys being signed to a roster and
yep.
starting lineups that are like four guys you didn't even expect to play are in the starting lineup and like even updating projections at that point is
Yeah.
I like
So
how the
so
hell
the
do you do
beautiful
it?
thing for me is that I don't have to be the guy updating the projections. I'm not in the nuts and bolts. I mean, I watch a fair amount of basketball. I follow basketball pretty closely, but I am not the one who does the projections. The guys behind the scenes at Osmo do that for me, thankfully. So yeah, I'm constantly refreshing my fantasy cruncher because it auto updates as they change projections with changing news. So I do a lot of that, and I mean we've talked about before. I change projections pretty drastically in some cases to get to different ownership exposure levels for myself that I like. So yeah, so it's I don't know, it's tricky. It's a little bit different every I usually start pretty late. I mean, lately especially just because the news is changing so much. I'm usually not even in Fantasy Cruncher until maybe half an hour before the first game starts. Um, which has caused me some problems. I've had some slates where I'm just way off what I'm trying to do. On that slate in particular, yeah, I mean, I trust the projections for the most part. In that slate, my goal was to get different with the star players because there were so many cheap players that really just like had huge projections that we expected to go off. The Osmo projections had Franz Wagner, Chuma Ukeki. If I didn't lower their projections, I was going to get to like 85, 90% of those guys, which in retrospect would have been the right approach. I lowered them because I didn't want to have that much Franz Wagner, especially he's a little bit more expensive. Chuma Ukeki was cheap enough that, it made some sense to get there. But there were just so many great value plays that I didn't want to really have 100% of anyone like that. So I changed the projections to spread out my exposures to the lower end guys, especially, and then to the top end guys. I kind of just tried to go different than the field because the field gets, because everybody's smashing in those lower end guys. For the most part, they're also getting to the highest projected of the stars. So I tried to get a little bit different at the top, and it worked out. This case, it also worked out for me that so I had 80% Drew Holiday. I was eating the Drew Holiday chalk. It worked out for me that he was ruled out, and I was able to switch off him. 26% of the field or something still had Drew Holiday in their lineups, and I got to a lot more Bradley Beal as a result because the field was not getting to Bradley Beal, and I had raised his projection to get some of him anyway, and then I ended up getting 32%, and he ended up being the second or third highest scoring player in the slate. So a lot of luck involved, obviously, but just the game theory of trying to be a little bit different than the field, but still being close enough to the projections that I'm not just going off the board,
Yeah,
and it
because
worked out.
it would cause the rest of my hair to fall out to even try to project ownership with things changing so much
Yeah,
that like I would just go I go into the default. I don't know about you that the later the news is, the less reflective it will actually be in the
Yep.
ownership. And the earlier it is, the more reflective it would be. So on
Yeah.
an NBA slate or even NFL or anything, like anything that's late, anything that comes Sunday morning isn't going to be as reflective. I mean, it will be, and
Yeah.
obviously it depends on the stakes that you're playing. The higher stakes, smaller field
Yep.
stuff, people tend to be sharper. But like in
So we talked
NBA,
about this last week that you try to actually project ownership, and you're pretty good at that. And I don't try to project ownership myself. I trust the sites, except for in those situations. Obviously, yes, I'm factored in like this news comes out 2 minutes before lock, and I think this player is going to be a smash. I'm just going to try to get him into as many lineups as possible. So I am factoring in. I understand that the ownership projections aren't always going to be reflective when we get news 10 minutes before lock, 5 minutes before lock. So in those cases, yeah, I'm trying to kind of project what I think the field will do. And in general, that's obviously going to be the case that if we get news too close to the lock of a game or after the first game locks, I can assume that the field is not going to get to the best plays.
right? Because I mean, it's not just projecting the new guy that's the value, or or the guy that replaces the guy that's out. It's how does that affect everyone else's roster construction? So like if we see, especially in the positions where you can't fill as much in, like center in NBA, so like 10 minutes before lock, if like some starting center's gone, and then like, oh, this $3,700 center is going to be starting to jam into spots, it's like any other high price center is going to start coming down. And then like, where's their lack of value? It's like, oh, maybe there's lack of value in the power forward spot. And it's like, well, that's where the payups are going to. There's the Durant, there's the Giannis, there's the whoever that
Yep.
you have to start. Now you have to start bringing those guys up, or maybe it's at shooting guard. Maybe it could be like, how are these constructions where like you want to typically when you get the raw points in the spots that have the positional scarcity, right? When you have like, oh, there are 3 4 to 5K guards that are like smashes. It's like, well, now the ownership of the high end guards are going to go down, and the
Hmm.
ownership of the power forward center, like Jokic, is now going to be owned more, and Embiid, and those types of guys. I don't know who's. Some people could be dead in the NBA for all I know. I know that I may be listing people that are out that died of COVID. Who knows at this point?
Not
Uh,
paying any attention.
I mean, I just every day I just see the underdog
Yeah.
notifications of just like this guy's dead. Here's the active players. Here's the 9 guys that are active for this team, and I go, I haven't heard of half of these guys. I don't even know who half
Yeah.
these guys are.
I know.
Uh,
Me neither.
right, but
Yeah.
it's you. Can you understand how for the way that I play, it's it's tough for me to like think that I'm comfortable playing and have an edge when it seems like every slate I just have to just erase ownership completely, because I can't even fathom like 5:30 comes around, X, Y, and Z happens, and now there's 3 new value plays in addition to the
Yeah.
3 other value plays. It's like, are people going to now rotate more to here? Are they going to go there? I mean, and you're sitting there
It's
going,
tough.
this
Yeah.
this guy could be 40% owned, he could be 15% owned, and it's either got like, it's like, which
Yeah.
guy is going to generate more, pull more, and I obviously want to play the other guy, and I'm sitting here going, well, the news came out 90 minutes before lock, is like this guy projects for 1 point better than the other guy. Is that going to cause this to skew because of that, or is the news late enough that it's going to be more even? And I'm just sitting there going, like, just what we talked about last episode of like, if I don't feel comfortable about like playing strategically on a slate, if I'm not all in mindset wise, like I
Hmm.
just check out. I like that's why it's like I'll wait until football season's over. Wait probably until half the teams don't have the G leaguers in their lineups, and I understand that if I wanted to dive in and go hardcore, I think I have enough of an edge just with the game theory construction
Yep.
angle, but the amount of work for that, just like I'll just watch TV tonight. I'm like, let everyone I'll let you get the money. You could have the money this time, and I'll come back in January when I could just focus just on that.
Yep.
But I mean, but I must be highlighting that even for you just blatantly using someone else's numbers, that it must be a stressful time. Like you can't just go
Yeah.
into any slate going,
No.
oh, good, even the 3-game slates. But imagine like
Yeah.
the 11-game slates. It's like, dude, we're having game postponements, and
So I'm
you don't
a little
even
bit of a
know.
middle ground in that I am taking days off when I am focused on NFL. So actually, I might not have played on Saturday. Funny enough, I was asked pretty late to do the Awesemo Live Before Lock NFL show, and I like at the time I was asked to do it, I had kind of forgotten that there was an NFL game that night. I was just focused on basketball wholly, so I might have taken NBA off on Saturday if they had asked me earlier and I hadn't already been thinking about basketball. So generally, I'm not playing NBA on the days that there are also NFL games. I don't think I'm going to play NBA tonight, probably not tomorrow night either, just because I'm going to be so focused on NFL. But I still feel like, if you can just spend 2 hours before lock on NBA just listening to shows, that's kind of how I get up to date on a given day. I understand your mentality of if I can't play every day, I'm not going to be fully there. I'm not going to understand everything that's going on. I totally get that. But for me, I just feel like, just listening to the shows, they kind of tell you what has happened, where the field is going. I was actually shocked on Saturday to learn that Boogie Cousins was not going to be highly owned. He was one of the stands that I was trying to take. You have no idea what I'm talking about because you're not paying attention. But
Right.
he's a guy that,
I know he's on the
yeah,
Bucks now, and I know the
yeah,
Bucks have 8 million people out.
yeah. So Robin Lopez was getting a ton of ownership. Boogie Cousins was not, and that kind of surprised me because Boogie Cousins in the previous game had done really well in the minutes that he played. He just got into foul trouble, and for various reasons, I don't know. It surprised me that Boogie Cousins was projected for like under 1% ownership when I was looking at it, and Robin Lopez was like 40%. I think Boogie was 3,800, Robin Lopez was 3,100. But to me, I was like, well, Boogie Cousins always has that huge ceiling. We know that he can do it in 20 minutes. If for any reason he gets higher than 20 minutes, he's just going to smash at no ownership. So he's somebody that, the strange thing is, before the Drew Holiday news came out that he was out, I had 27% Boogie Cousins, and I ended up at like 9% after that news broke, just because so many other value plays sprung up from the Bucks, and I got to more of those guys, more spread out than Cousins. But yeah, I don't know. It's stressful, but I enjoy it. And I think that there's a huge edge because of all this stuff going on if you just have projections at your disposal. So that's part of the reason I play. I want to play DFS every night. So are you doing anything on the nights that there is no NFL, no MMA? Are you playing? You're just taking days off?
Other than soccer, MMA, and NFL, like I'm just that I'm. It's nice. I could live a normal life.
Yeah,
I'm just pretty much sitting on
I
the
get it.
couch, probably watching wrestling or something. But I mean, I get to spend time with my wife, and we can have an actual dinner. Look, I don't have to check. Oh, locks at 7:30, at 8 o'clock. There's a game locking at 9. There's a game locking at 10. Like there's none of that
Yeah,
type of stuff where it's like I'm there, but I'm not really there. I mean, because you can't like, we're gonna watch a movie or whatever. It's like, no, I'm still thinking about it's 8:25, and I gotta go back to the
yep.
computer, make sure everything's okay. Then I gotta set an alarm for another 20 minutes, and like I don't know what that. Especially now, if NBA was normal, I'd probably still be playing on the days that there weren't NFL or anything like that. But I mean,
Yeah,
and
it's crazy right
NFL's
now.
turning into it. I mean, look, literally
Yeah.
NFL is turning
Games being
into it.
postponed. I did a whole show on Friday for the 2-game Saturday slate, and we learned like 10 minutes left in the show. They said, "Oh, it looks like the Browns game might be postponed." They're talking about moving that, so it's like, "Oh, we just did this whole show that is going to be irrelevant now." So that was a bummer. Um, yeah, and then COVID news coming out, and then they're changing the COVID protocols in NFL. That like changes everything. A player can, you'd assume this player is going to be out for 10 days, and now he might come back because he just needs one negative test. It's yeah, NFL it's getting there.
Yeah, I'm,
And
I'm
then
playing. I'm
Tyler,
playing
if
it
we
real.
want to tie it into the NFL slate, I heard you didn't get to any of is it Tyler Huntley?
Tyler
Is that
Huntley for the Ravens. No.
Yep, me neither. And I obviously we both regret it. That's one that now I'm like, man, I feel like that's sort of a flaw because I don't watch college football and he was never relevant in best ball. I had no idea who he was. I didn't know that he was a rushing quarterback, that he had that kind of upside until I did hear. I was watching the Osmo streams leading up to lock, and they talked about him a little bit. So I was like, oh, maybe I should. And I went back and I boosted his projection based on the things that they were saying, and still just ended up not getting to any. He wasn't somebody that I was prioritizing. He was just like, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's a regret that I have.
on the Sunday slate, on yesterday's slate, I built my lineups old school style. I went
Hand built? What do you mean by old school?
I hand built. I did my old school style. I'll even show you my my little tally
Oh
sheet.
wow,
I went
written down
old
and
school
everything.
style. I mean,
Where do you even find one of
obviously
those things?
I'm looking at the projections. So it's like I'm looking and looking at simulation tools and everything. Going, okay, here are the games I want to target. Here's the here are the stacks I want to have, and then then writing them all out and just because I'm going to build 20 lineups by hand, and I need to keep track of my exposures to some extent, right? But I'm
Mhm.
not like going like this lineup is projected X and it's owned X. It's just like I have little ups and downs on each of the names that basically show if they're over owned or under owned. So it's like once I start putting in a guy that has a downward arrow, it's like I can't put a second guy with a downward arrow. Like that. Like it's really like conceptually there, but not precise in any sense of the imagination.
Right.
But I figured with all the COVID news and all this type of stuff, like I'm not even working on my lineups until till Sunday morning, and then I was playing cash on both sites, and I did well on both. I mean, I 38% positive return. So
Yeah.
like I DraftKings, I think I won 90% of my head to heads. So like I'm happy there. Uh, but then hand building my lineups, I'm just like but I'm still doing the same thing that I would do in lineup HQ of like, well, Parker's chalky. Like I play three Tua lineups, but I'm only playing Parker with Tua. I'm only playing Gabe Davis with Josh Allen. I'm only
Mm-hmm.
playing Deontay Johnson with Ben Roethlisberger. Right? I did that type of thing, so I knew I wasn't gonna. I knew. I mean, it's the same type of thing of me putting in groups and then building 500 lineups and then selecting the 20 that I would want. But I mean, I saw what fit. I wanted the cheap running backs, right? So I had a Jeff Wilson, obviously James Robinson. I played a little too much Devonta Freeman. Like I played the Ravens, but I played the Devonta Freeman, angle on that. Uh, and then just sorting it out just by whatever. Like
Did you do that for your cash game as well? Did you write it out?
no. The cash game I could
Okay.
just use I mean, cash
Yeah.
game. Essentially, I used the aggregate optimal from FanDuel, and then I made some changes on basically my
Yeah. So
aggregate
I
optimal didn't
listened to
have
your show
Gabe
this
Davis.
morning. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I listened to your show this morning about your cash lineup, and I was like, he said before that he always just plays the optimal. All you got to do is play the optimal, and it sounded like you had made a couple changes. You just made the one change to your optimal.
Well,
Is
I
that
mean,
true for cash?
the main thing in NFL is soft enough and
Mm-hmm.
it's short enough that like I think I can make more better optimal decisions than let an 18 game sample size of whatever aggregate or whatever projection system I use. In NBA, I'm more likely to just say this is what it is and just write 140 slates and treat it like an index fund type of thing. But
Yeah.
like I look and I go, my aggregate optimal doesn't have Gabe Davis, and I know that Gabe Davis is going to be like 50% in cash games because
Right.
I look around the entire industry. I mean, I know what
Okay.
everyone's talking about and everything. So I'm like, Parker is going to be people are going to play Parker, people are going to play Davis, people will play James Robinson. So it's like lock. The Bills' defense is going to be way owned in cash, especially with the field goal kicker going down, right? It's like I don't want to be burned by high variance players especially that are cheap. When I could just build a lineup with them that only sacrifices a half a point of projection anyway. So it's just like I lock them in and then just whatever I
Yeah.
get. I don't get Devontae Adams, but he's expensive, so I don't care. I end
Right.
up with Kittle in my lineup. Like that's perfectly fine. It's just a matter of the player I didn't want to play was Gabe Davis. Like I thought
Yep.
like he was the fragile guy. He was the
Yeah.
$3,700 guy. I'm not a
Gonna
big
be wait.
fan.
Yep.
I'm not a big
In
fan in cash
GPPs. Yeah.
games
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
seed points at wide receiver has the highest opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't want to have 5 points at wide receiver. Like Gabe Davis easily could have gone 2 for 30 and that's it. So like
Yep.
can I avoid playing Gabe Davis? Yeah, of course I can. But once I see that like he's like the top value, him and Parker are like you got to play both of them. You got to play both of them. Got to play both of them. I'm assuming people are playing Gesicki, Adams types lineups. Maybe they're going down to Tua. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I get burned by any of that. So it's just like okay, just let me lock in the guys and just
Yep.
see what runs out. And I get 3 running backs. I get Wilson. I get Gaskin. I wasn't thrilled about playing any running back other than James Robinson, but
So you did lock. So you locked in those players and then ran the optimal.
and
So
then
you
ran
just
right.
locked in. Okay. I
And then
see.
I think I got Brandon Cooks in my third
Yep.
wide receiver slot. And it's like I try to make it a point not to play guys on bad teams.
Yeah.
If I could avoid it, especially knowing that he's barely going to be owned in cash games, so I just
So
X
did you
him.
take him out?
Right, so I
Okay.
just X him out and run it and just run it again. Okay, there you go. I look and I go, okay, that's pretty good. I mean,
All
like
right.
that, and then
Oh, I mean, that's a few switches. That's not, that's not just like one change off the optimal. It sounds like you made several decision points off
right,
of the
but the
optimal in
lineup
this
that I was
case.
playing was 1.2 points lower than the optimal.
Yeah. So do you do that most weeks for NFL? Do
Yeah,
you often make multiple pivots?
on both sides. I mean, I'll because also what I'll do is on Sunday morning I will download the projections from all the sites across the industry
Hmm.
and plug them into Lineup HQ because we now have an aggregate feature that you could plug and then you could aggregate them with weights, whatever way you want. Uh, so I'll download them all on Sunday morning. The updated ones, like 9 in the morning, updated type of ones, and
Yep.
then aggregate them together, see what comes out as the optimal or the top 5 optimals. But then I'll go to each projection source and go, well, what is ETR's optimal? Like this is a lineup that I expect to see being played, right? Because people
Hmm.
will just click on optimal and play it. So I'm like, I'm looking at that, and then I look, what's Awesomos, what's Daily Rotos, what's Fantasy Labs, like what are the optimals around the industry for both sites, for DraftKings and FanDuel. Obviously, once inactives come in, typically around noon or 12:10, I will download them all again because
Yeah.
obviously things will shift a little depending on whatever the inactives is or anything like that, and then I'll look at it again, see if anything's really changed, aggregate them to my weights, and I weight the Blitz and ETR higher than others,
Hmm.
and then I'll go through and then I'll just go, you know, exactly the process that I said. Who do I need to block? Who do I don't need to block? What are my lineup choices? Uh, and maybe run 10 and go out of the top 10 what and eventually it takes me less than 5 minutes and just like that's what I'm running with. I put it in, uh and before that, even before inactives, I was building all my GPP lineups because there was going to be nothing in inactives as far as I knew that was really going to change my player pool much, so
Yeah.
I could just
So
go through and hand build them.
do you find that cash games that your profitability changes throughout the year? I was talking to my friend on FanDuel. He's Chris41658, very good player. He plays cash on. He only plays FanDuel, and he plays cash on FanDuel, and he keeps on trying to get me to play cash early in the season because he tells me that early in the year it's super soft, and then later in the year, kind of the softer players drop out, and it becomes a little bit tougher. That's what you find as well.
No, absolutely,
Probably not worth joining at this point because you're playing against a bunch of. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not
but
going to,
the
but just generally is that.
late season NFL cash games are still probably twice as soft as early season of any other sport.
Okay.
Right? So
Yeah.
like early season NBA cash is softer because you get a little bit more casual money in there. Same for MLB, but that goes away pretty quickly in those sports. But like that softness in the beginning of NBA is still like 5 times as sharp as like the late next week in NFL. I mean, especially if you're able to play lower stakes. So if like
Hmm.
one of the biggest things that I could recommend to people that have smaller bankrolls. I mean, it's what we talk about in the course. It's like the number one thing. Your profitability is going to all be based around playing the weakest opponent. So if in the beginning of NFL season, if you could play $1 and $2 contests, play head to heads to keep the your variance lower, and like if you have $300, like there's no better investment than playing $300 worth of or whatever. Fill up the. I mean, on FanDuel, since I was never a big FanDuel player, I'm still not restricted. So like, all I do all week is every 6 hours or whatever when I'm in the bathroom, I just open up FanDuel and I just enter the $1 and $2 50/50s. Just keep on the multipliers, everything, and then just I post like 25 at each level, and I'm just like, I get like in total I get like $3,000 $3,500 worth of action,
Yeah.
mostly in lower stakes, and I mean there were weeks on FanDuel where like I have a lineup that I'm like this, yeah, I'm losing it all on FanDuel. In the early games, I'm like, this guy got injured and he has 3 points. He's only 18% owned and he's in my cash lineup. I don't have this guy who's 40% owned who just scored 80 yards and a touchdown. And by
Hmm.
the end of the day, I've doubled my money. And I'm like, how did that happen? And then I noticed that some garbage running back that only put up like 4 points was like 28% owned. And I go, why were people playing that guy? And then I go through player lineups and kind of the higher stake stuff. It's not like I see them in those lineups. I mean, like,
Right.
I'm looking, it's like, was there some construction? Was there a reason why this guy was owned? Was there a reason why this combination? Was there a reason why this defense out of nowhere, a 22-point defense is somehow like, but on FanDuel is so much easier. And my cash game action is I fluctuate it based on the context of the slate. So personally, and if you're a lower stakes player, maybe less an experienced player, you want to play on what Levitan calls prove it weeks. Like if you can play low stakes, you want to play on weeks like we had one 2 weeks ago, the Sony Michel week.
Yeah.
Right? Like basically there was one of two cash game lineups. Like that there was literally no like if you didn't play this lineup or that lineup, you're a bad cash game play. Like that or you're playing higher stakes, playing 3-mans. You know what you're playing against and you're kind of trying to flip something. I get it if you're doing that, but if you're playing low stakes, if you didn't play one of these two lineups, like these were the lineups that just no questions asked. If anyone that was off of these lineups sacrificed too much, and so it's like I want to play on those weeks.
Were those lineups the optimal? So I'm curious if they were the optimal on ETR site. Or,
it was a week where because remember there was the week where Henderson was like we don't know if he's going to play.
I remember Sony Michel. I had 80-90% of Sony Michel.
Right.
The field somehow only had like 20%. Yeah.
Once you plugged Michel's projection as if Henderson was out, the optimal lineup on all projection sites across the industry was one of those two lineups.
Okay.
Right. So like there's no like, and if you don't play one of those two lineups, you sacrifice. Like there was no combination unless you were leaving money on the table and playing a different defense or something like. There was no other combination that you would have been able to make that projected like that because it was
I'm just curious if I would have
running
landed
backs,
on that
these
lineup.
two wide receivers. Like at best, it was a 2v2, which exactly what those two lineups were. I like those weeks for lower stakes because I don't have to think about it. Like I'm just gonna plug that in. I'm gonna be on the train and let everyone else make the mistake. So I have no problem. Like that was the morning where I'm just signing up for everything. I wasn't even expecting to play much cash, but once I saw that this was a prove it week, I'm like, I'm gonna on DraftKings. It wasn't as much on FanDuel, but it still was close to it. And then the other times that I like playing is when there's where the popular construction is far off of my aggregate optimal.
Okay.
So where people are playing like, okay, this guy's chalk, that guy's chalk, this guy's chalky. Not when someone's 72% owned. I'm talking about like chalky 40%. Like people are jamming in, like Cooper Kupp into their lineups, and it's causing like this construction to look like X.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, in my top 50, I don't even get any Cooper Kupp because it actually wants you to pay more running back here. And once I see that, and I go, I agree with what I have, and less so of like someone's rankings, right? You'll see like people, I got to play. What they'll do is like, I got to play these three guys, and then they'll find a way to fit them in. Find a way to fit them in, not realizing that just playing two of them and a different construction is probably better.
Optimal.
Right. Yeah. It's probably better for cash games, at least, median wise. Once I see that, I start adding head-to-heads and triple ups. Because I know so much of the field is going to be on something. So if I'm going to be significantly enough different with some 3v3 that doesn't have a guy that's probably 45 to 50% owned, if I'm right, I want to get paid 2x. I want to get paid more on that.
It's about winning more when you're right.
Right. So if I pass the train, I'm going to get triple my money. I want to get quintuple my money. I'll still put my stuff in double ups, but I'm going to be playing more head-to-heads. So if I'm off, I still may win 30% of my head-to-heads. But if I'm right, I may win 95% of my head-to-heads. So it's like those type of weeks. But a lot of times you don't see that until Sunday morning. A lot of times you don't see that till Saturday night. And then on the weeks where it's like I don't like anything, like then those are the weeks where I kind of scaled. This past week was
Yeah,
I'm not
me too.
I don't like
I
anything.
hated this. This NFL slate was one of the trickier ones of the year because there was just nowhere where it was the field was massively wrong, other than James Robinson to an extent was projected to be way lower. I think he came in at like 50% owned in the Millie, so he ended up being about where he should have been. I think that was the only spot that going in he was projected for like 20 to 30% ownership, and was optimal 50% of the time or something like that. So I was like, okay, he's a great play, and then he came in at 50% ownership. So even he wasn't that great of a play. Yeah, it was one of the trickier NFL slates of the year. But before we get to that, since you're talking about macro, like the easiest way to make money if you're a new DFS player, I am not sponsored here, but I still and this show is not sponsored. I feel like I'd ask, do you play on Yahoo?
I used to.
Okay.
It's more of a time thing. It's more of a
Yeah.
I
I
can
just
only do so much at one time.
Yeah.
But
But they're giving 200K overlay guaranteed
yes,
contests. And I'm not sponsored. I've never been on a Yahoo sponsored show.
right.
I'm not an Awesemo employee. I have no reason to say this, but I that's the only site that on main NFL slates, I have killed it this year. I've made a lot of money on Yahoo while losing on DK and FanDuel GPPs for football this year. So
If I wanted to
for
maximize my
me,
EV, that would be where you
yeah,
put your money first. Yes,
yeah, exactly. That's
absolutely.
since you brought that up as you want to play the lower stakes contest with the softest competition. I just think that's the other spot where you can find that kind of similar edge is playing where you can find overlay, and obviously
Uh,
where it's guaranteed is the best way to do so.
have they fixed their CSV uploads?
You can upload via CSV. What do you mean? I believe they. So I
Early in
only
the
play
year,
one contest.
I tried playing one slate and
Yeah,
it kept giving me errors. I had to put things in different line. I'm like, this is what am I doing here? And then
it's
trying
usable.
to follow your goddamn contests. I just don't even bother.
Oh yeah, no, I
I'll
hate
just
it. Yeah,
show the green number. I'm not going to check this until after the
I
slate.
agree with you
I,
there
how
because
are you
yeah,
supposed to check? It shows each individual I'm
yeah.
done.
I agree with you. I agree. It sucks as a entertainment platform. It's just very profitable for me. I mean, towards the end, it becomes fun if you have one that is in contention. Then you can see
Well,
where
then
you
you
are
could just
relative to
highlight
everybody
that
else.
one. But if it's
Yeah,
if it's 2 o'clock an hour into the slate, I have no idea what's going on.
yep, agreed. It sucks, uh, but it's fun to win money. So,
Well, yeah,
so in
well,
that sense,
sure,
I
of
think
course,
it's worth playing. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm saying I like in the early part of the season, I like okay, I'll play 150 entries into the guaranteed overlay, whatever, and then
Hmm.
like I'm like okay, let me now that they have CSV uploads, okay, let me see how the process, and then I'm like this is like a Thursday before, and I'm like okay, let me just build a whole bunch of lineups and just cut and paste or whatever, and then it's like it wouldn't do anything. I'm like what the fuck? Why is it
Hmm.
uploaded? And then I go and no, it wasn't uploaded. Like it
Yeah,
didn't even tell me that it wasn't uploaded. I just pressed it. It looked like it did something, and it didn't do anything.
I
And then I'm
think
like,
it is.
what?
It is fixed. I mean, I do my Yahoo lineups literally 10 minutes before the slate starts is when I start doing my Yahoo lineups, and I quickly adjust players to try to get to different exposures. I don't spend much time on Yahoo at all, and it seems to work pretty well
Well, I
for
mean,
me.
you're
Just
getting a guaranteed overlay, so I mean, it doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just you don't need to spend a ton of time on it. I've got projections. I still try to do some of the same stuff where I'm changing the projections to get a little bit different from the people who are using projections. But yeah, for the most part, it's just super easy to make money there. I say this, I did lose money. I've lost money the past couple weeks on Yahoo, so it's not like it's guaranteed money. But I've
Hmm.
had, it's just much easier, much softer. I mean, not even much softer. It's just easier because of the guaranteed overlay, I think.
A question: do we have to run? Do we have to hold, Neil, as a community, an intervention with you about Jermichael Hasty? Yeah,
uh,
I'm looking at results DB. You had 9% J. Michael Hasty, and you had
yep,
9% Dare Agbunawale,
yep,
who's obviously backing up, James Robinson.
yeah.
Like I said, like in a vacuum, I understand what you're doing. Well, Wilson is going to be popular, but that could be a split, and we're just all assuming Robinson's getting all the work, even though Meyer's not there
Well, he was
anymore.
also banged up. It was more because he was banged up for me. So I thought, well, banged up running back coming into the game. Everybody's playing him. He's immediate leverage off of everybody who's playing James Robinson. There's nobody else at 4,000 who I like. So it was just, there are a lot of things that made me think it wouldn't be that shocking to me if James Robinson is a little banged up, if he aggravates his injury. It wouldn't be that shocking to me. Or if James Robinson, if like you said, if James Robinson is just getting 50% of the carries, Dare Ogunbowale is taking the other 50%. Who knows? And anything can happen. 4,000, the best 4,000 running back. Yeah, I took some shots there.
Yeah, but
and
you
then
didn't
to
think of
Michael
that same shot, Neil, with Myles Gaskin.
Yeah, right. Yep,
right. I mean, it seems so perfect for you.
It actually
right?
does.
Like, why not play Duke Johnson?
Yep, that's true. I think that if I had gone different, I might have gone to Malcolm Brown instead. I don't even think I would have gotten to.
I don't think he wasn't even active.
Oh, I thought he was activated this week. Maybe
no. I think it was active was Gaskin, Ahmed, and Johnson.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I should have following that same logic. It would have made some sense. And they were playing the Jets, so it was a easy enough spot for whoever got the carries to crush. I guess I thought that. I mean, there's obviously not the same leverage as Dare Ogunbowale because Myles Gaskin wasn't that as highly owned.
He was owned enough.
Yeah, he might have been like 20%.
23.5% in the millie. He was owned.
Yeah, it was a miss. I guess that's what it comes down to. It was a miss to not follow my own strategy in the spot where it actually worked this week.
Just do that just the backup running backs of every team. Just do that. Let's see how much money you can lose before you win with that.
Yeah. I mean, I've won with it before. That's the reason I keep going back to it. I think that I'm generally okay at picking.
Why not Tevin Coleman? Michael Carter was 17% owned. Did you have any? Let me check. Tevin Coleman? Oh, no, you got nothing. You got nothing. Oh.
I got nothing.
0.15% owned. He only had 5 points, but whatever.
Yeah, but he also wasn't as good. I feel like Duke Johnson made sense because if it went right, he was the lead running back going against the Jets,
right.
Whereas Tevin Coleman was going against the Dolphins' tougher defense. Shouldn't have been the same, positive game script for him. So, yeah, I mean, I wish I had played some Duke Johnson. I played some Myles Gaskin, so that was a mistake. I was actually looking at my exposures just kind of in preparation for the show. I don't always do it as much as I should. Look at like where did I actually end up on things. My biggest the fishiest thing that I think I did is I think I had 26% Jaguars D. And that was like
they were only 9% owned because the Bills were more owned.
Yeah,
I think the fishiest thing was playing 37% of a 20% owned Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, maybe it was.
I couldn't believe Deebo was that owned.
Yeah. Yeah, that might have been the fishiest thing I did too, and that's just because they were playing the Falcons. I just thought if they're gonna be able to do whatever they want against the Falcons, they clearly know that Deebo Samuel is their best player. So it could
imagine playing an $8,200 running back in your wide receiver slot.
Yeah. Yep, that's what I did.
No, like I was fine with that. Like I was fine with Samuel as a contrarian play, thinking that like if he's 8% owned.
Yeah.
Like who says he just doesn't go out and get a 9 for 112, 2-touchdown game and what but not at that owner. I mean, the thing that surprised me the most yesterday was the Bills ownership.
What did they come in at?
Allen only came in at 8% owned.
Oh yeah.
Like the Buffalo stack I had is like the second highest owned stack on the slate. So like purposely, I'm going, okay, how do I get away from Allen to play Rodgers? And Rodgers is more owned than Allen.
I know.
Like,
that was my recommended stack. So we do at the end of our Saturday show, we who is your favorite stack? If you just have one lineup that you're going to play, who's your favorite stack in single entry? And I said Aaron Rodgers because we had Aaron Rodgers projected for 5% ownership. The day before, he had been projected for like 2.5% ownership. So the ownership kept going up. And I think we must not have been the only people who had that idea because he got pretty
Everyone
steamed.
had that idea, apparently.
Luckily, I did say with Devontae Adams and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So that's the one thing I got. I mean, Aaron Rodgers actually did pretty well too. So I guess it was. No,
that's exactly what I got. I played Rodgers plus Adams plus MVS plus Devonta Freeman. So I didn't fill at Andrews in the.
Me neither. I didn't have any Andrews. I had 0, which was obviously it hurt, and I think it was wrong to have 0% Andrews. I think I allowed it to happen just because he wasn't projecting well. He didn't look that good in the Osmo tools, and on top of that, he had this new quarterback who I knew nothing about, and I was like, well, he's just got a bad quarterback. Are they going to be able to score it all? Probably not. There are all these other tight ends that I like. what are the chances that Mark Andrews hurts me that badly? And then, of course, he did. So
Right, of course.
that was a miss.
Right. So I can make up the points with J. Michael Hasty. It's fine.
Exactly. J. Michael Hayes still get me there. Daria Gumbawale.
Are you ready for this coming week for Rojo and Antonio Brown to be chalk?
Oh, God.
Have you
Is
the
Antonio Brown
salaries?
coming back?
I can't believe they even published they put out the Sunday salaries
I haven't
before
looked.
even the 2 games tonight and the 2 on Tuesday are even being played. It's
Wow.
gonna be
Yeah,
Eckler's
people are
now
gonna
on
get
the
hurt in
COVID
these games.
list.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So Justin Jackson's 4,200. Ronald Jones is 5,100. They haven't raised Craig Reynolds' price if you happen to want to use him.
Yeah.
If Godwin's out, Evans is possibly gone. I mean, like Antonio Brown's 4,900 on DraftKings. He's
Is he coming
7,000 on
back?
FanDuel.
Is
So
it confirmed that he's going to be back?
yeah, according to the coach, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, as
Fun.
long as he has a real vaccination card this time, right?
You're right. Yeah.
But who knows? Between now and Sunday, half the teams could be. I mean, like
Yeah.
the Chargers are dealing with this. Who knows? Keenan Allen's out again. Mike Williams is out again. You're sitting there going, "What's going on?" And the Bucs now. Tyler, are we playing Tyler Johnson now? I mean, like, it's going to become
Maybe.
like it's. I believe the slate coming up on Sunday is going to feel more like an NBA slate currently.
Yeah, probably.
But
Yeah.
not like something happening like 90 minutes before lock. But like the
Yeah.
Schefter tweets at midnight are going to matter. Like it's going
Yeah.
to be like, okay, there's 700 people on the COVID list. Some of them may come off, some of them may not. And we're not going to know possibly
Yep.
until 90 minutes before lock.
Yep. It'll
Beautiful.
be fun.
And
Great
it's
slate.
season-long playoff time. Isn't it great?
Yeah. It's best ball. This is the first round of best ball playoffs. I had some stacks with Brady and Godwin that I was like, oh man, this stack I think I'm going to be advancing. And then of course they just dudded out completely. So that was a bummer.
So the best ball was this week playoffs?
This is the first week of playoffs.
Okay.
There's the first round, they call it, is weeks 1 through 14. Second round is week 15, third round week 16, and fourth the final round is week 16. I think is how it works.
I don't know. I
Or
don't play
17.
best ball.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. But after the first 14 weeks, it's just 1 week per round. So it's fun though. Got to bring Eric back on to talk about some best ball. It's a good time.
Well, he's doing
No,
NBA
it's super
best. How do you
frustrating.
do NBA? Who knows who's going to win NBA best ball? Whoever's the thing that I found the funniest. NBA people are dropping out due to COVID, right, left and right,
Mhm.
and on the day that like 700 people are on the COVID list, they announced that Kyrie Irving is.
I know, I love that. Well, then he
the guy that
immediately
doesn't
goes
wanna
on the
get
COVID
vaccinated at
list.
all, right?
Yeah, that was funny. I could not believe that. That was crazy.
Soccer, it's
Yeah.
like I don't know what I'm going to do. Like what the Premier League is dealing with this shit also. So they like this past Saturday was supposed to be a 5-game Premier League slate that turned into a 2-game slate the day before that turned into a cancel slate the day of.
Oh no.
Because it went down from 5 games to 2 games, and then one of the games got canceled. So like the 2-game
So
slate
there's
doesn't
no-
matter anymore. So it's like, okay,
Do they have showdown for
yeah,
soccer?
they have showdown, yes.
Okay.
But Sunday is going to be a busy day for me because that's Boxing Day.
Yep.
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas, and that's when like all the Premier League teams play at the same time.
Okay.
Like it's a tradition for the Premier League to play on Boxing Day. So I'm going to be making soccer lineups at like 9:30 in the morning when I wake up before I make my NFL lineups. And who knows if there's 10 games being played on Boxing Day because half the games are being canceled and postponed as it is. So now I'm going to have to deal with that twice in one morning of what's going. Because I'm expecting this week. I'm expecting it's Monday. I'm going to by Friday. Like it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those slates where it's like, I'd love to play 5 running backs if I could, or I'd love to play 6 wide receivers if I like, or it's like I could pay. I'm just going to pay up at defense and tight end and quarterback because I could fit in everyone. I mean, like
guys. Yep.
It's gonna be one of the. It feels like it's one of. I already tried to put the lineup together. Like Cooper Kupp is 9,800 on DraftKings, and I'm like, that's a little expensive for Cooper Kupp. And then seeing all these people drop out, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna have a problem fitting Cooper Kupp in.
Yep. That's funny. Just speaking of NBA best ball, going back to that for a second, what doesn't work is seeing that there's massive overlay on the day, like the day before it's going to lock, and just going in and finding a good projections or a good ranking system for best ball, and then just like running it auto. That's what I tried doing. Is I just like filled in. I did the rankings based on some pre-rankings for NBA best ball, but on DraftKings you can't do anything like roster construction wise. Like so for NFL you can set I want a maximum of 4 running backs or a maximum of 2 tight ends. You can't do that kind of thing on DraftKings at
So
all.
if you
So
do it,
it's just like
well, hold
whatever
on.
happens.
So in
Yeah.
best ball for NFL, if you put it on auto, you could get like 4 quarterbacks and
Yep.
and
Yep.
and 5 tight ends if they just
Yep.
happen to be ranked like that.
Yep.
Well, that sucks.
I think they have caps of how many you can have at a given position. Maybe it's 5 quarterbacks, something like that. But yeah, it's the construction can totally suck. Which I did some of that for NFL too, and I'm probably not going to be doing the auto draft thing anymore on DraftKings. On Underdog, you can set limits to how much you want of each position, which is what I did for a lot, and it works out pretty well if you just set it to 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and 4 running backs, 5 running backs, that kind of thing. You can get within pretty close to the lineup constructions that you want on Underdog,
But you
forcing
only
it. But
played on DraftKings because of the overlay.
yeah, exactly. There was massive overlay. Well, when you can actually draft your own lineups on DraftKings, there's also a massive edge because it's super soft. Underdog is much sharper players, which you'd probably guess because a lot of pros are touting it all the time. DraftKings, they don't even really tout their best ball product at all, and then you just get a bunch of random casual players playing best ball for NFL on DraftKings, and it was very soft. I had a great advance rate on DraftKings, but
Have you tried playing the snake draft daily?
I have not.
They have a snake draft format like similar to the old school like draft on
No.
DraftKings. So like you could do a
Okay.
snake draft for this coming like week slate. Like I'm assuming
What's
those have to be. I'm assuming those are soft also. In
what's the top
comparison,
prize though?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So for DraftKings, I mean, I'm playing. It's a Millie Maker contest for the $20 on DraftKings or 100,000 where it's worthwhile. If the top prize is $100, I'm probably not going to
Yeah,
play
but if you're
any kind
smaller
of contest.
bankroll and like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. It probably
or
makes
you could
sense
play
for
a
some
lot of
people. I agree.
leagues. Like I mean, like
Yeah.
I get it
Yeah.
if you're looking
Probably
at
a good way to. I play some. I play Flash Draft on DraftKings. Are you familiar with Flash Draft?
yeah. I
Where it's just
tested
for
that
a
out
quarter.
before. I tested it out before anyone knew about it. That
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I forget that
because
you're on that
I'm behind.
committee.
I've signed an NDA. I know some of the features that come out before people do, and I always have to say because people fucking troll me. It's like 99% of the time. I could almost say 100% of the time. Whatever you're complaining about, that's exactly what we complain about. They don't give a fuck because they're gonna do it anyway.
Really?
So I
Yep.
mean, so it's a matter of like they thank you for the feedback. So at least they know what people are going to complain about, but they're really not going to change anything. So
Yep.
like it's not the type of thing where it's like, oh, on this thing that came out since you knew about, well, how come you didn't tell them X, Y? Like, no, we told them X, Y, and Z, and they did it anyway. Like, I
I mean,
get
that's what
it,
surprised me. It's a huge corporation. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the flash drafts were, I'm assuming they're exploiting. I mean, I see some people that play it at. Some guy gets injured right before halftime, and he still end up like 22%
Yeah.
owned on.
It's super easy. I've made a lot of money on Flash Draft. It's just not always worth it. Not how I want to be spending my time. I'm already sweating so many other things, but I think that's actually a good way to make money to build up a bankroll is by playing the flash drafts just because it's soft competition. People don't understand the different correlations relative, it's different correlating flash draft versus other things because for example you have to make multiple choice selections and sometimes they'll give you a set of 3 players and you choose one player over 2 others in your first set and then they give you a new set and a player that you didn't choose in the first one is still available in the next one and people will then choose him for the second one and a lot of times it just makes no sense the decisions that people are making. You got to kind of correlate within the decisions you've already made and people don't seem to understand those basic things.
I think there's enough. There's enough. If you're a small bankroll player, if you're a small stakes player, there's no reason that you shouldn't have a 15+% ROI with proper contest game selection. Like
Yep.
I see no reason if you're someone that plays $300 or less per slate, and in total, which means you could You play on Yahoo. You can play on SuperDraft. You can play on FanDuel. There's no reason whatsoever why you couldn't have a consistent, maybe even higher, maybe 20, 25%. Of course, what this means is you're not going to be playing contests that you could win $50,000 and you're not going to be playing. But if you have $300 to spend and you have multiple sites to choose from, you could pick head-to-heads. You could find the snake drafts. You could find, tiers contests. We have the obviously because of the UIGEA, they have to post the guarantees beforehand. There's no reason that you can't pick off overlay in contests. Double up that's a minute to go and it's 9 out of 23, and it only fills 16 out of 23. Like there's no reason whatsoever. FanDuel, you could go on ticket hunting on FanDuel. They give away, they overlay in all of their satellites.
You did that whole show with Kyle Dvorak. Seemed like he was doing that for a while and was pretty successful with it.
Now you're going to have to spend time. Now understand that time is involved. So like you're going to have to actively go like, okay, let me go in right now. Let me see what's available. So let me take a look.
With the exception of Yahoo, where it's guaranteed overlay. Just going back to that. I mean, it's like, I feel like that is, we undersell that sometimes. I don't hear people talking about the guaranteed overlay on Yahoo.
But it's still a large field contest, Neil. I'm talking about.
Yeah, it is.
Even if you don't want the swings, I'm talking about, can I take $300 and turn it into $550?
Sure.
And do that enough. Or obviously you're divvying it out. Maybe you do play a 100 man, a $1 100 man that pays out, $40 to first place type of contest. Like, but it only fills up like to 78 entries.
Right.
Like there's so many ways, like tiers. I mean, sometimes I play tiers. Or I go look and every so often I'll go into tiers on Saturday night, and I'll see some $50 head-to-head, no badge, no nothing. Okay, give it to me. And like tiers is the easiest thing. I'm just going to sort by the fucking raw points in each tier in my projections and just go across the board. GPPs, you would need some correlation involved if you wanted to. But I'm all I'm saying is that there's so many those types of contests. There's so many little things. I mean, obviously we have stuff like like the prop-based contests, but I'm thinking more of peer versus peer. That with a small bankroll, there's no reason if you put in some amount of work, some amount.
I have a friend who he's a very smart guy. This is the first year that he has tried to do DFS at all, and he was sending me messages, screenshots at the beginning of the NBA season. He was doing some NBA double ups and stuff regularly, and he was playing in contests where it was like, he's guaranteed to win. Like it was just like, it was filling to that level. And he was like, don't you tell anybody about this. Don't tell anybody. I'm going to keep playing it. And he made like $1,000 and then he stopped doing it because it was too much work. so that is,
because you have to find the contest.
Because he had to grind. Yeah. Because he was constantly grinding to find those contests, but it was like, he was finding where it was either guaranteed or close to be guaranteed on Yahoo to just the cash games that were not filling Yahoo NBA. So I don't know if that has changed at the beginning. My guess is that they have changed the number of contests and the size of the contest so that they fill or come closer to filling now. But for a while, I had a friend who was doing that, and it was just too much work. He ended up being, I'm too busy to be grinding at this. But
well, but that's the main point. I mean, like in MMA this past Saturday, like I found, like they run the soccer qualifiers, like a satellite to the $150 King of the Pitch, whatever, and it's like 4 minutes to go, and it's like 3 of 11. So I'm like, okay, well, because no one's playing soccer that's playing, so it's like it filled with 5 people. It's like, but it's giving out $150 tickets, so let me throw it in. But the difference is, like what your friend is saying, is that like we don't do it as much. Definitely not you, because you're playing primarily large field GPPs and focusing on that. Is that the time invest? Like you can't do that at the higher stakes. Like there's no like, I'm gonna pick off some $200 contest that doesn't fill. Like it doesn't really happen in the higher stakes. Or what ends up happening is that you see a contest that's like it's a $100 double up with 58 seconds to go. It's 3 out of 11. So you're like, okay, but before you blink, it's 7 out of 11.
Yeah.
And right before lock, it fills with 11 because the same people are looking at the same exact thing.
Exactly.
Maybe sometimes it fills with 10 and then you just play a rake free type of contest. But at the lower stakes, if you only have $300 to spend, you should be able to be picky. I talk to so many people that are playing at that level, trying to play seriously, and they talk about like they're playing the multi-entry double ups. And I say, dude, I don't even play the multi-entry double ups. They're the worst fucking contests to play. Because the sharpest people are throwing in 150 lineups into the double up. So it's like, or when people ask, I'm playing $50. Should I play two $25 double ups? Or should I play 10 $5 double ups? I said, you should be playing 50 $1 head to heads. Right? Or you said, like, what do you, like, can you still play the dollar contest? Yes. It's like, no, you should, if you're only playing $50 and you're playing cash, what you should be doing is posting probably 5 head-to-heads, a couple, maybe, technically, you should be posting 1 head-to-head at each level at $1, $2, and $3. Not 5, because once you get, now you get the restricted players that can play. 1, 2, and this is what you should be doing. Whether or not you want to do all the work, but if you want to have the biggest edge, this is what you should be doing. Posting only 1 at each level, so you can see who takes it, right? More people don't realize that bad players are more likely to take head-to-heads than post. So that's why you go to the head-to-head lobby and go, oh, all I see are sharper players. It's like, yeah, because bad players typically don't post. They take someone's. And if a bad player posts, typically they get eaten up easily. Someone will spot it and take it. If I don't recognize your name in the lobby, I'm snapping it. I'm just whatever. And you do that. So you have a $1 head-to-head, a $2 head-to-head, and a $3 head-to-head. And you're just waiting for it to be taken. Once it's taken by someone, then you post another one back. See, because you don't want to give up. You're only playing $50 worth, so you don't want to, like, then you leave that alone. Let's say you're putting that up like the day before an NBA slate or something. Then what you should be looking at later in the day in NBA is go through the 3-man lobby and click on the $1 3-mans and click on the entrance button to see, is there someone you don't recognize in there? Even if there's one good player in there that, I know that guy, but I don't know this person. There you go. Snap that up. Right? And then go through and then wait before lock, 10 minutes before lock, and see what contests are being filled late and go, here. Maybe it's a $5 triple up that's only like 9 of 31 and it's 2 minutes before lock. And it's like, there's no way that this is going to fit. Look, there you go. You're only playing $50. You could find $50 worth of that type of stuff where that in the best case scenario, if you're able to find on a slate like that, when the slate locks, your green number could be higher than your entries.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's the best.
Right. That's the best. So like the 10 to 15% rake is covered, and then.
Yep.
So now, there's no reason at that level that you can't do that. Now in a raw sum of money, it doesn't mean much to go from 10%, from 15% ROI to 20% ROI. But you're only playing with $50. So like, what's a 20% ROI of $50? $10.
Right. $10.
Right. So it's like, I did all of that for $10. It's like, it's called, it's compound interest. Right. You're going to be doing that every day. So now you can't just automatically get to, I have a $50,000 bankroll.
Right.
You have to, that's what grinding it is. And at the, when I'm playing and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be playing $4,000 of volume in cash on NBA slates, finding the $1 3-man doesn't represent enough of my volume for the time for me to, I'm going to spend a total today of 40 minutes going through 3-mans at the obviously I can't play the $1 and $2, $3 level, at the $5 level, to find every so often, and it doesn't happen that often, for the one schmuck that's in there. But I'm trying to fill $4,000 worth of volume. So it's like, a lot of times I almost feel like I'm filling volume for the sake of filling volume. It's like, I'm just entering all these contests, even though now there's really nothing's overlaying, nothing's going like just to fill up my allotment. Like you shouldn't be thinking that term. But in order for me to get the raw money for it to be worth it for me to play, for cash games at least, it has to be at that level. But in order to get up to that level, you know what I started with? Playing $50 a slate and finding the fucking contest. Like, you can't get to that point like Neil, I tell people that I'm not special. That I don't, there's nothing that I know that other people don't know. There's nothing I made up. I didn't invent anything as part of my process.
Yep.
I don't
Me
make
too. Same
projections.
thing.
I don't do. There's nothing there's nothing that makes me special in DFS. And then I'm talking to someone and I'm like, the only difference is I'm 5 years ahead of you.
Yep.
Like
Exactly.
that's the like yo, I've been playing DFS for a year, and I'm now I want to take it seriously. I have $1,000 bankroll, like it's like you could know you could learn as much as I know. I could in a month.
Yep.
It'll take you a while to implement that consistently. You'll get better and better at the concepts and over time. But the difference between my bankroll and your bankroll is just a time difference of 5 years. But understand that because of compounding, and if you're playing large field GPPs, you're going to go lose, big bink type of thing. It's like you're someone that's playing today.
This does assume that you are a positive ROI player too.
Well, of course, but I'm just saying as far as like the knowledge and learning, if you're going to play in a plus EV manner, and you're like, well, I only have $1,000 bankroll, and I don't want to play $50 a slate.
If you retain the information that is given to you, yes,
right,
100%. It's just
But the point is that you have to. I show people my chart, and I go look at the beginning. Look at the beginning of the first year of me playing DFS. It's me playing $50 a slate. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't be at the point that I'm at or that you're at. Obviously, winning the Billy Maker is, that's a big boost.
It's an outlier,
right? That's an outlier. But there's no reason you have to start from somewhere, and you're probably not going to be that good in the beginning. Even if you understand the concepts, you have to implement them. But you should be the game selection, the contest stuff should be that's the easiest thing for you to do. And to me, it's work ethic is a very big pet peeve of mine. This is where me being an asshole.
I want to hear this,
Right. I try to exaggerate it just to highlight the point.
I know. Anything else.
I've told people, like, my pet peeves in this industry in general, or just in life in general, is that I quote this all the time. I said, you're playing when someone asks me something about DFS that they could like Google or watch a video of or something like that, I go, you're playing in the same contest of people that have advanced degrees in applied mathematics, engineering, computer programming, and finance. So they're in your contests. I said, do you think that you'll ever learn how to beat them if you can't find this tutorial video on the RotoGrinder site? Like you should be. If you don't, I don't know where it is. Well, then look for it. Take the 60 seconds. It is
in their defense.
Around
is it easier for them to ask you than to spend 2 minutes?
Yeah, but to me, my attitude is, if you're the type of person that finds it easier to ask someone else instead of looking for yourself, you're never going to be good at it. You're just like that mindset is you're never going to be right. Sometimes I tell people when they ask some type of question about some process, I said, I've answered this and I've shown this on the screen of what I do about 40 times on a DFS pregame show. It's like and they go, do you watch the show? It's like, I watch every so often. I said, you know what you should do? You should watch all of them. And they go, well, which episode did you do it on? I said, no, you didn't hear me. You should watch all of them. And there was one person that even like LOL'd when I said that. I said, you should have said, so you really expect me to watch like 300 or 400 hours worth of your video? And I said, yes. Said, what do you then if you're not willing to do that, then how you there are people in DFS that are willing to do anything it is to make money. I mean, you're in this is a cutthroat space, right? This is a competitive game.
It is.
And I tell people, like, well, how did you learn when you started? I bet you didn't. Dude,
But you were watching them like every day. It's a little bit different to watch these videos every day as opposed to saying go watch 300 videos.
No, but that's Neil. No, that's what I did. I watched RotoGrinder's videos from 2012, 2013. I watched some NFL slate videos from like 2014 with Bales. I know Jeff Collins was on back then. CSU was back on back then because I essentially wanted to see any show that Bales was on, I wanted to watch. And he
Interesting.
was
I've
on.
never seen a Bales show. That's interesting.
Right,
I didn't even know that Bales had done content.
yeah,
I know
for
that he
Roto
has done
Grinders.
written content. I didn't know that he had done video content. That's
No, he
interesting.
was on occasionally. Then they had Peter Jennings. Right,
Yep.
This is like old.
But you went back in time to watch videos that were no longer
No longer
you
slate
you went,
relevant.
yeah, right. But you just wanted to hear the concepts of how they talked
Right,
about
exactly,
the slate.
right. And then they even had a game theory series. I 2014 or something.
Okay.
They had a game theory. They like Roto Grinders was just putting out videos of different. And it's like I just want to hear strategies, just anything strategy related. And they would talk about a basketball slate that I don't know anyone in the NBA anymore. And I'm just trying to pick up of like what are the things that I should be what are the concepts, because I'm trying to relate poker into DFS. So I'm like,
Yep.
I want to hear like the David Sklansky-ish type of theory of poker stuff. And there really wasn't much of it. But the people that wrote about it were like Bales and Raybon and JM to win. And there were bits and pieces places. And it's like, well, how else should I learn other than watch and listen to everything? Like I read all of Bale's books in 2 days.
Wow.
All of them. I ordered them all on Amazon.
How many books has Bales written?
6, I think.
Wow.
It's 6.
You must
They're
be pretty
a little bit repetitive.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. But I mean, I read it in 2. I read them in 2 days.
Okay.
And I read them again a month later. All 6 of them again a month later.
Wow. So
if
you put in your time.
How else you can? That's when I tell people about the theory of daily fantasy sports. When they're like, someone asked me like 2 days ago, said, "Is the best thing to do? Like, should I listen to this all at once, or should I listen to one chapter a day?" I said, "Consume it any way that you want to consume it, but it's meant. I structured it and planned it and framed it in a way where you would listen to it, play for a month or two, and then re-listen to the whole thing again." And then play for a month or two, then re-listen to the whole thing again. That's how I learned how to play poker, right? I did the same thing in poker. I mean, I read and reread books and just go and play, reread. And it's like, well, you just read that book. It's like, yeah, but you could still pick up because you've experienced it now. So now it's like, oh, I've gotten into this situation.
There's so much more.
Right.
Once you've applied it, it's much easier to actually learn the concepts.
Right. And then you go back and then you start going, in poker, you start getting to a little bit too extremes. Right, when you're talking about bluffing ranges, and next thing you know, you're bluffing a little too much, right?
Right.
And then, because when you start, a lot of times, like when I started in poker, I was way too tight. Because it's like, tight gets the money, just like whatever. And I was just like the fucking complete, I'm folding 9 out of 10 hands. I'm folding hands that would still be profitable at a game of that type based on the skill level of the players. But it's just like, nope, got to fold ace-jack to any raise whatsoever, no matter if it's small blind or big blind, because, you know, the chart says so or something like that. It's like, yeah. And then you go to the other extent of like, now I'm like, if I'm in late position and I'm opening, like I'm raising 9-6, who gives a shit, right? Doesn't matter, right? Because I got position. And then you start learning by reading again and like seeing and doing. So like, that's how I approach like I look at the shows that I do in the morning and go, I want to do them in a way where you could go back 2 years and watch a show from 2 years ago and pick up the same amount of information that you could watching today's show.
Okay, but here's my question. Is there any benefit to going back 2 years? Don't you think that there's enough content that you've done recently or that you're doing you put out how many hours a day? Can't they just listen to your relevant, like timely content to learn these concepts more easily than going back 3 years? Wouldn't that be easier
the main reason of the course is that all the stuff I've been talking about for a year.
So the course, I don't mean the course. I mean like your Roto Grinders morning review kind of videos, those kind of things that are no longer timely. Wouldn't it be easier for a new player to just listen to those same videos that you're still doing that are timely? What's the benefit of going back in time as opposed to just
you can't cover everything. There's not certain concepts and certain things will apply more.
But they'll keep repeating, right? So if a concept that you talked about 2 years ago, I'm sure you're going to repeat it sometime in the next month.
So yes, if you continue to watch, if you started today and you watched every day for the next 6 months, you're probably going to pick up anything that you would have gotten in the right. Yep. But do you want to fast track that? then watch 14 hours
Sure.
of me today. I mean, like,
I'm just saying there's enough Blender out there that people can just watch your current stuff
I,
and fill up
but
their days.
Neil, the point that I'm making is there's so much of
Oh yeah,
me
yeah. Oh
out
yeah, yeah.
there.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't
I get
understand
it.
why people are like, here's a question that I've answered 84 times. It's like there's so
Yeah.
much stuff out there that I don't see what could you possibly ask that I've not covered at least 400 times in a video before. And
Yeah.
but that's I don't know if I'm fucked up that way. It's just like it seemed I'm the type of person that's like if I found me now, I would buy the course and start watching like every video. Like I want to see everything that this guy's ever said. Or I have videos on my YouTube channel from when I did Periscopes before I was even on Roto Grinders, talking about the what a distribution curve is.
Yeah.
Right from 3 years
Well,
ago. Like I leave them up on my YouTube channel. It's like,
yeah.
but then I still get questions of like, yeah, I've been watching your shows or whatever like that. Can you explain X, Y, and Z? It's like, why? I have so much content.
Yeah.
Someone
So
asking, someone
I
asking
don't
Bales, how
have
do you win
so much
at
content.
fantasy football? It's like, I have books. That's the reason
Yeah.
I want them. Just
Exactly.
read the
Yeah.
goddamn book.
So I don't have a lot of content. I do one show a week for 1 hour on the main slate, and I still get questions 2 hours after it's posted. Who do you like this week? So I get it. I would be very frustrated in your shoes. I think it's a lot to ask that people consume all of your content when you're doing the amount of content that you do. I can understand why people might want to fast track rather than finding what you said 35 minutes into this 2 hour long show. I kind of get it. I'm not somebody who asks other people questions generally. I try to find things on my own. It's just a personality trait, I guess, that I have. But I kind of get it when people, you do 40 hours of content a week that they don't want to go find that pearl on the specific thing that they're trying to find. But they
Yeah,
still ask it
but
of
it's the
me.
same
Would I
type
do
of stuff
one
that
hour
you're
a week?
complaining
So
about. It's,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, you just did a show. I mean, even with articles and reading is so much easier. I mean, Andy
yeah, yeah,
at Roto Grinders, for a long time, he's changed the format of his article now, but he has a core plays article on RotoGrind for premium members. He tags on lineup HQ. It says with his face, core plays, orange tag.
yeah,
And in our Discord, I mean, I don't know this season, but I'm just saying in past seasons, it'll be 5:30 or whatever, and someone will tag him and said, uh, who are the best plays today? It's like he wrote a guy. You're
yeah,
a premium. It's not like you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
see it. It's called core plays. It's tagged in lineup HQ. You could like.
I agree with your rant. So in
Right,
general,
but
I'm saying I agree with you that people are too lazy and they ask these questions where it's like I have answered this in a very easily. I'm just saying for you in particular, you put out so much content that I kind of get it. If there are specific questions that will take somebody half an hour to find the answer, as opposed to just asking it, hoping that you'll answer in 30 seconds, I kind of get it. Even though I'm not somebody who has ever been one to ask people questions that I can find on my own. I'm very much I'll Google what I'm trying to find, but
that's the
yeah, yeah.
but
I get it.
but
Okay.
that's the
I get it.
that
I
it's
get
the
it.
mentality. It's
You
like
need the mentality of I'm going to put in the work. You're saying
right,
essentially.
that if
Yeah.
you show me the mentality that you're going to put in the work, that's a different like people. And I mean, I don't. This is not supposed to be a bitch fest. I'm trying to relate a mindset that a winning
Yeah, yeah.
player would have. Is that
Right.
if we'll have in chat or whatever, or DMs or someone will like in the situation with like the Henderson Michelle thing like from 2 weeks ago, and they go uh is someone will ask is Daryl Henderson is Daryl Henderson active or inactive right before it's like a half an hour before game time. It's like in my head I've stopped responding to these people because all it is going to cause problems because they're going to think I'm an asshole, or they're going to say I'm going to talk to fucking Cal or someone like that, because my responses used to be much more snippy. In my head, I'm like, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the NFL is a multi-billion-dollar worldwide corporation with a significant amount of press that covers it. That our Discord is not going to be the first place where that information would be. That there's probably 80 other places that you could find this in about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like that all you have to do is look. Right? I mean, like, and the number one thing, and now I try to push across is that I will send them a link, and the link will be a Twitter search of whatever they're looking for. Right? So
Let
I'm
me
just going to
Google that
Daryl
for you. Have you
Henderson.
seen that? Yeah.
Right? It's like
The let me Google that for you yeah.
right of because
Are you familiar with let me Google that
yeah,
for you?
right. But
I
I'm
think that's what
saying,
it's called.
but that's at least something I understand why a news story like that wouldn't be Googleable, because maybe there's not a story written that, but a lot of times there's a Rams inactives report.
Yeah.
And
So
if,
I'll say so I guess sort of off topic, Twitter has become messed up for me. So up until like 3 weeks ago, that was super easy to do the like latest and find, you see the top results for if I search Rams inactives, I could see it either in top results or latest results. I could find it. I feel like Twitter changed their algorithm a few weeks ago. Have you had this issue where it's just like suddenly it's not as easy to find? I think they may have changed it back now because I've had an easier time, but there were a couple weeks where I was like, man, I'm trying to find on Twitter. This used to be where I would find the inactives for a certain team, and I could not find it for the life of me, searching for several minutes, and it was very frustrating.
right, but I mean, I do that for
Kind of an
showdown
aside.
slates. Like on
Yeah,
showdown
yeah,
slates,
that's what
I
I
don't
mean.
wait for someone in the beat reporters or anything like and search through whatever. It's just all I do is Rams like
Me too.
Vikings
Yeah,
inactives, right? Bears inactives.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, and I was doing, but for me, it was because I was doing a show, so it was like I want to find it as quickly as possible so I can change what I'm going to say and change my lineups and stuff. And I would just not be able to find it on Twitter for a couple weeks. It was just a huge issue for me. And I'm sure that there's an NFL inactives page. I've tried to find different sources. Usually the team itself will post, so you can just go
Right.
search New England Patriots, find their Twitter account, but some teams don't do that. So I don't know. I had issues for a couple weeks there, but
And if it's
this
for a
week I hadn't
specific
used their time.
person, dude, there's 700 people that report.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
if it's a matter of like oh, it's so and so out of the game. Like, is Chris Godwin out for the game? Just
Right.
fucking just search on
Search
Twitter,
Godwin.
right? I
Yep.
mean, what that's to me that's the mentality. Like what I mean by work ethic. Like
Right.
the work ethic mentality is that.
But it's just as much effort to ask you as it is to search it in Twitter for some of these things.
Right, and then
So
wait,
is it
and then
just that
maybe
they
I don't
want,
respond for 3 minutes, right? And
yeah, right.
and a lot of
Yeah, I
times,
don't get it.
you know the secret, Neil? A lot of times the question that they ask, I don't know, and I have to search, and then I have
Right.
to tell. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, it's, and a lot of times it's news that hasn't even happened yet. We see
Right.
in NBA, like someone's questionable. It's like, is so and so playing? It's like, dude, like we literally have an alert service.
Yeah.
You'll find out when I find. I mean, you'll find out when anyone just.
Yeah.
But it's those. What frustrates me is that I think you're the same type of I can't understand how someone could be successful in a very competitive zero-sum type of game without having the mentality of like your first thing is to solve it yourself.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Like you have to be able to find the information for like how you not. If you're not even able to do that, I don't see how you have the cognitive ability to build lineups. Like it sounds harsh, but it's like I look at some people. I mean I don't look at them, but I'm not sure how this person ties their shoes in the morning.
Yeah. I was listening to JM to Win did an interview yesterday, a couple days ago, and he said that he has alerts set up for all 32 NFL teams for their beat writers. I forget which source he said that he has alerts for all of them on, but it's like, yeah, that's kind of what you need to do is I don't have them set up for all 32 NFL teams. I'll probably do that this summer. I think it's a really good idea for like best ball, but like, yeah, you really need to put in the work to figure out how to learn things on your own rather than asking somebody else who then is going to have to either they know it or they're going to have to look it up for you. Yeah, I'm 100% with you.
Right, and it's not like it's work. To me, it's not like most of it is irrelevant.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not like you're doing any. I mean, I have a list on TweetDeck called football.
Yeah.
And I just have like beat writers and like Jay Glazer and Schefter and the important people I have in my main feed also. Like so if I'm out and about, I will see Adam Schefter. Whatever he tweets will be in my main because I'm not going to go to different lists on my phone or anything like that. But I also have I have underdog alerts for NBA. I got Roto Grinders alerts.
You have to.
Right? I mean, just any news that's relevant is going to come to me.
Yeah.
But if there's anything that I want to find, I could just Google or Twitter search it, no matter what. Like I'm talking, but I'm not even talking about sports stuff. Like, like I, I, I don't know. Is it just I? Too many people do this that I feel like I'm the weird one, but I feel like how does it not? How is it not weird? Like
Yeah.
someone asked me, I think last week or something, my MMA sheet. How do I get the probabilities? Like for the
Okay.
MMA fighters, I go the
Yeah.
sports books.
Yeah.
Said, so where would I find them? Said, go to any sports book.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said personally, I prefer the offshore lines because they tend to elicit sharper action and have
Mhm.
less vig. And there's a way to obviously take the vig out of the line. I don't think there's any value in that since it's all about equality. I'm not looking to be that precise on. I'm not
Yeah.
betting on anything. I'm just using it for DFS purposes.
Yeah.
And then they'll ask like, how do you convert the like another person? How do you convert the odds to a probability? Like, right? Plus 150. Like
Yeah.
how do you know that that's 40%? I go, math. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Put in the work.
and it goes, well, what's the formula for that? I said, the question you just asked me? Literally cut and paste and put it into Google.
Yeah. Right.
There's literally implied probability calculate. Like you go to a site and just type in plus 150 and it'll show you
Yeah.
40%. Like, and you could just type in plus 300. It'll show. I mean, like all you have to do is just take what you DM to me and just put it into Google. If you
Yeah.
did that before you DM me, I would have never gotten this notification that you had a question for me.
So
You
now,
would have found
now I
it.
have a different question. So I see, you've started doing coaching recently, private coaching lessons, right?
Well, I mean, group coaching inside
Okay.
of Roto Grinders.
Does your answer change if you get the question within one of your coaching sessions? You can Google this. Do you give that same answer, or are you
No,
a little bit?
I would give the same
You
fucking
would give the
answer.
same answer?
But most of the questions that the discussions are being asked are not of that. Are
It's
not
not those players. Yeah, yeah.
Is
They're
right. It's not
people that
those
are willing to put
players.
in the work. Yep,
Right. I'm
that
dealing
makes
with
sense.
people that they're already 90% of the way there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. They're
Of
they're
course.
already they're right. I'm getting. They may
Yeah,
ask.
I figured.
It may be the type of thing where they're asking something more advanced from that.
Okay.
It may be the type of thing is like I'm trying to convert all this stuff in Excel, and I'm having a problem with like it's some technical like if it's
Yeah,
something like it's an Excel thing, like it's
right.
that at least that's maybe understands, and it's the type of thing where like I looked it up and it did, and this thing didn't work. Am I doing something wrong? Like
Right.
to me once you've established that like dude
I'm trying to do this on my own.
right
Yeah,
I
yeah.
put 8 hours into this and I it's not
Yeah.
coming out right. Like
Right.
I've much more respect for like hand holding. Like I'm if you see me in the Discord in the Oregon Discord sometimes I could spend 4 hours talking to one person teaching them basic concepts of stuff I feel like they want to learn.
Right.
When they're in the mindset of learning and they
Right.
just it's not something that you could look like it's a concept. It's not even something that I could point them to, because a lot of
Right.
times, like some of the like expected value concepts, there's no good because all the videos are either too math based or too
Mhm.
focused around a finance of like a stock price type of thing. It's like I know that for someone that doesn't understand this concept, using a completely different field is not going to help them.
Right.
So it's like the closest thing is wagering on sports. So like sometimes I send EV concepts of like if this bet is a 54% probability, but you compute it as a 60% probability, what's your expected value of this of $1 on a bet type of thing? But sometimes I could spend 4 hours going through just the general concept of you want to get paid more than the odds of it happening. Like just a very it's like it's just so no formula. You don't have to do any math. Just go, you have a 10-sided die. How much should you get paid on a $1 bet? You should get paid $10, right? So if I pay anything more than $10, you should make guesses on the die, right? If I
Yep.
pay you anything less than $10, then you shouldn't be taking those bets. I mean, like very simple stuff that you may need to be walked through.
Right.
There may not be a that great of walkthroughs that I could find, but like the simple if I mean, the simple stuff of like someone would follow. I get these DMs. I'm not. This turns into a bitch session. It turns into. It was supposed to be a hasty intervention and turned into
Yeah.
to
What
whatever.
happened here?
But I'm saying all this so people aren't that person, right?
Yeah.
That are in my DMs that have followed me for a while or whatever. And they said I followed you for a while. What would your advice be on for Sunday slate type of thing? It's like, well, if you followed me then if you're asking that question, you have not followed me for a while, right?
Yeah, right.
Like just the question in and of itself shows that how much content of mine have you possibly, right? Or
they just follow you on Twitter. That's all they mean.
Right. Or they'll follow me and go, someone will DM me like, I've been playing DFS for a year and not doing well. Can you teach me some of the basics type of thing? It said, well, I have a course that teaches the basics.
When people ask me that, I send them to your course.
Okay. But the thing that I don't understand is that they follow me.
Right. So you should know.
Right. So you should know. Like that's.
Well, they're trying to get
I look at that and go, "How are you ever going to be good at DFS?" Wouldn't the first thing you do look on my profile and click on the link? I mean, like,
right.
I literally say Theory of DFS Masterclass. I mean, it's purposely there for that reason.
Yep.
So if you can't look at my profile and click on the link to at least explore that there's something, like, you should quit DFS. I mean, like, I don't.
Right. It's not worth
it. So I'm not crazy. This is not me being just like. To me, it's the other version of the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Right.
Right. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's technically two either way. Most people use it from dumb people don't realize how dumb they are.
Right.
But it's also smart people don't realize that other people aren't smart.
Yeah.
Right. So you look at them and you go, how do you function in life?
Yeah.
If you couldn't even do these simple things.
Yeah.
And to me that's
so you don't understand how these people are so dumb, but it seems to me that you do understand how dumb people are based on conversations that we have.
I don't mind if people are dumb, like they can't they're not smart enough to, like, they're not number oriented, they're like, they struggle with thinking probabilistically. I can I have no problem.
We all struggle with stuff. Yeah, different people struggle with different things. Yeah.
Right. So I get that completely, because I could look at a piece of art and not understand why 3 bars this way and that bar.
So it's you don't understand how there are people who aren't willing to put in the time, is what you're saying.
Right. I don't understand how you could be successful in anything.
Yep.
If you're not, like, if you weren't even bothered to click on the link in my profile, if you weren't even bothered to watch the show that, like, for you, watch the show that just happened. Yeah. That has the information that you just said, I don't understand how any of my time explaining anything to you is ever going to turn into anything. Like, what it becomes an annoying. It feels like you're disrespecting me. Right. Not that I'm disrespecting you. It's like, can you teach me everything in one tweet? Like, I have a course for that. Like, and if the response is, I've taken your course and I still don't understand some concepts, I could accept that. I could go, oh, okay, have you watched some of my morning show? Yes, I've watched it, and I still don't get this one. I could take all the time in the world for that, but when the response is like, I follow you for a long time and I need some help, and it said, have you bought the course? No. Said, so buy the course. Okay. Said, have you watched the DFS pregame show? No. Like, what do you think I'm doing in all of this? What do you think I'm just like? I mean, like,
I thought you were just yelling at people.
Right?
Isn't that your thing?
Right.
Yeah.
You'll get Neil. Maybe you'll get to my. I mean, you've already experienced the like being on a. But am I crazy to think that the type of person? Because I think we're still talking.
No, I think you're totally right.
We're talking about a mindset. The same thing with the. If you have $1,000 bankroll and you're like, oh, I don't want to play $50 a slate and grind out 10 to 15%. It's like, if you're not willing to do that with $1,000 bankroll, how are you ever going to be disciplined enough to play properly when you have $100,000 bankroll.
Right.
Like it's the same concept, just at a higher scale. So if you can't do the people that will say, should I be playing 150 entries in the quarter arcade, or should I be playing 50 entries into the $8 whatever? I said you should be playing the quarter arcade. It's like, yeah, but the first place in the quarter arcade is like $1,000. I said, you think that it so win the $1,000? It said, if you can't even beat the quarter arcade for profit, who says you're going to beat the higher step? Like, it's like you want to skip over these steps of like,
right.
Like you don't want to do the work, but but isn't that the same in any type of situation? If I wanted to like, I want to lose 30 pounds and get a 6-pack, like there's no way for me to do that in a week.
Right. Yeah.
And I could ask anyone I want of like, can you teach me how to do this? Can you and be like, okay, well this should be your nutrition plan. Here's your exercise plan. I'll see you in a year or two.
Right.
Right? And people are like, no, but I thought you're good at this. You should be able to like
right.
Like
teach me now.
Right. Imagine the fitness people, like some personal trainer that would see someone like me and I'm like, I want to get muscles like you. But I don't want to lift all these weights.
Yeah.
Like what would be the best way? And they look at it and like, no, you got to lift the weights and you got to do this every day. And you're going to be doing it every day for a month. And at the end of the month, you're not going to notice any difference. Right? Yeah. You're going to look at me and go, why are you even bothering doing this 4 hours a day? And it's like, but I look at them, they look at me and they go, said, you follow this for 4 years, you will look like me.
Right.
You just have to trust the fact that this is the process.
Put in the work.
You have to put in the work, and you will get there. It will slowly get to that point. But obviously, in those types of fields, also there are plenty of people that that's the whole gym business. Sign up for a gym, and 98% of people don't show up for it. But the mentality should be to do the work on your own.
Yeah, you need to be self-reliant to be good at DFS, generally.
Right.
Yes.
As we're talking about two people that use other people's projections.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. But I also think that for both you and I, if I didn't have access to other people's projections, I would have at some point created my own projections. It's just I don't do the steps that are done for me. If they're already there for me, I don't need to do those things. So right.
They're already done. They're done either as good or better than I could even do them.
Yeah, exactly.
But you'd be right. Like I would build my own model for all of this if needed. But why am I spending all that time to do it when I most likely can't beat any model that's in the industry currently.
Right.
So what's the point? But then we have people that subscribe to these sites that don't even use them.
Right.
And then then I'm just like blowing my mind. I'm just like,
I'm subscribing to your site. Why am I not winning?
Yeah. Like, dude, all the work is done for you. Like, all you have to do is just put the numbers together.
Yeah.
In the best way you can compared to the field, right? Who's better, this play or that play? Like, which number is higher? Look at the project. That's the same thing with the overs that last year making fun of the. Look at the fucking projections. But that's what else am I supposed to tell you? That if you don't even have the mentality of like just looking at the projections, how could you possibly ever get good at this?
Yeah. Especially like season long. I get season long questions. I'm like, there are so many ranking systems out there, or you have access to these projections. There's so many ways to answer this question for yourself. Who is the better play?
Right.
I get it. Yeah. People think that. Yeah. People think that you and I will have better answers to that kind of question maybe than the rankings because we're good at DFS, which is just not true. If you're just making a 1-for-1 decision in a season-long league, I'm no better at this than you are at choosing the higher projected player.
No, we are better than them because we could actually look at the projections and see which number is higher. Right,
I guess.
That's the point.
Yeah.
But I think so many people fail in DFS for. I think that's I would posit that that's the number one reason. No, the number two reason why people fail at DFS.
What are your top two? The number two is that people are not being self-reliant.
People don't have the work ethic.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Even if they understand the concepts.
Right.
They just aren't even willing to have the work ethic to do it. They're just gonna like do whatever way they do and like try to find as many shortcuts as possible till they realize that there aren't any shortcuts. Like
Yeah.
once you get better, once you finally have tried to find the magic button 15 times and realize, oh, there isn't a magic button.
Right.
The number one is easy. It's degeneracy.
Okay. People
That's the
overspending
number.
their money.
No, just play it like it's gambling.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's the same thing in poker. I mean, I've played so. I mean, in New York City, I played in private games and in clubs or whatever of people that knew the better. Like they knew that they were playing poorly, but they weren't there to play profitably. They were there to
Okay.
entertain. Like
Right.
it's. I know that I should not be calling this bet for a gut shot, but I have a feeling it's coming.
Yep.
Like to me, that's the number one reason why people fail at DFS is because they've never gotten past the point that it's a gambling game. They're just
Right.
like this is completely a gambling game. And you'll see on Reddit like it's all luck, no skill.
Oh yeah. So
Right.
many comments. Anytime somebody posts a winning screenshot, although I actually think that's maybe gone down. I feel like it used to be anytime anybody posted a winning screenshot, you get 3 comments. Oh, it's all luck. It's I don't know, just really negative comments. I feel like I've actually seen less of that recently, but
Right.
maybe
Well,
that's just
it may be a lot of luck on one slate, but it's not
yeah,
luck to be profitable
totally is.
for 6 years, right? I mean, like
Yeah, exactly.
just like in
Yep.
poker, yeah, you could get lucky on one hand, but good luck
Right.
doing that 3 million hands and be profitable that
Yep.
way,
Exactly.
right? But
Yep.
that to me, that's number one is the degenerate gambling factor, and number two
Yep.
is just like there are people that could be just as good as everyone else. That's a good player.
Yep.
If all they had to do was just put in the minimal amount of work, just the minimal,
Yep.
and it's the what in New York City it's called the broken window policy. It's a
Okay.
Have you ever
Not
heard of?
familiar.
I want to make
Broken window
sure.
policy.
I think that's a better way of putting the broken window theory.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Okay. It's called the broken windows theory. The broken windows theory is a criminological theory that states that visible signs of crime, antisocial behavior, and civil disorder create an urban environment that encourages further crime and disorder, including serious crimes. Giuliani in New York City ascribed to the broken windows theory of like that's why he cleaned up Times Square. That's why
Okay.
graffiti on the subway, like it was a very big deal for the like if there was an abandoned house in like clean that up, knock it down, like don't show visible signs of like disarray because that just encouraged more. If the neighborhood wasn't being treated, looked like it wasn't being treated properly, no one else would value it either. So it's like, yeah,
Sure.
when you see a graffiti filled tags on the subway, it's like, okay, this is, no one values it, right? So it's like fucking, it would create more crime. Whether or not that's true is up to debate.
So how are you tying this into DFS degeneracy? What are people seeing that's making them
No,
more
I'm talking
degenerate?
about the broken windows theory when it comes to work ethic.
Okay.
So, if here there are some productivity people, like gurus or whatever like that. I don't.
Yep.
That's what I said. I don't necessarily ascribe to this, but it's related. That believe that if you work at home, you should still get up and have your normal routine as if you're going into the office and dress, with put on a suit and a tie and sit at your desk and do your job from 9 to 5 and still act.
Heard of that.
Right.
Yep.
Now, that may work for some people, may not work with others, but the mentality, like that mentality I get. So that's what I mean by, I don't know if it's the broken windows theory of like, if you have a part of your process that's broken, that you're doing it in a substandard way, even if it doesn't matter that much, once you start saying it's okay for this to be a little off, it's okay for me to just mass enter 5 minutes before a slate. If it's okay for me, like all that could do is lead you down a path of bleeding of leaks, right? If like just when I tell people don't believe it, I look at results DB every day, I may only look at it for a minute sometimes. Sometimes I look at
Yeah.
it for 15 minutes. But I make it a point, even if I have to bring it up on my phone at 10, 11, before I do my show or whatever, or even on weekends,
Hmm.
to whatever slate I played. Obviously, I'm not looking at results DB if I didn't play the NBA. Like, I don't know the
Right.
context of anything, but
Right.
I'll always look at there's something. Did I play a lot of this guy versus that guy? What did Awesome do? What did Neil do? What did this
Right.
guy? Just in general, even
Yep.
just for that. Maybe there are certain points where I see an ownership discrepancy. I'm like, where did I get that wrong? And I do a deeper dive. But I've
Yep.
made it a point for what? Ever since 6 years before results DB, I downloaded CSVs. So I mean, I was bringing that shit into Excel. So like, to me, that's the broken windows. I feel like if I don't like do that every day, to some extent, that slippery slope of like, well, what
Yep.
else am I going to start getting lazy on?
Yep.
Right?
That's
Not
true.
doing this, not doing that. But if you start from a perspective of this is my routine, this is what will make me a better player. That's how I learn how to play, by studying CSVs. So it's
Hmm.
like I always want to be in the having good habits.
Yep.
So if you start with good habits, knowing that, like, I don't know why I'm looking at this. You'll know why down the road.
Yep.
Why do I have to learn this? Oh, I'm never going to be playing large field GPP, so I don't have to worry. Well, what happens if you like? What are the little time? Oh, I'm going to enter. If you're used to hand building three lineups, and it's like, why do I have to look at projections? It's like, well, how are you ever going to get past where you like?
Right.
Still build the lineups by hand. Fine. Don't use an optimizer. That's perfectly fine. But get into learn and get into a habit. When do you check the injury report? Like okay, I always made it a mental note to myself in NBA to never build lineups before the 5:30 p.m. Eastern injury report,
Yeah.
because that was the
Just not worth it.
main last in. Yeah, there would be one at
No
8:30 and one
longer
at
the case.
right. No longer the case, but it used to be,
Yep.
right? And then I mean, look at this year. I made it a point to really not build lineups until Sunday morning, and I used to
Yeah.
build lineups
NFL,
Saturday
hour and a half
afternoon.
before. Yep.
Right. It's like not even till maybe not even until inactives, but
Yeah.
like to get in the right habits and the right
Right.
mental, like, but if you don't put those habits into place in the beginning, you end up on the last group coaching call that I had for Roto Grinders, the two people that they seem to know what they're doing, they described chaos, right? Well, what do you do? It's before inactives, and but now there's chaos, and now I'm getting too much of this guy, and I'm getting, and I don't know how to get less of that guy, and I'm now I had to X this guy out, and then I'm like, and they basically describe that like up until 1 minute before lock, like the entire hour is like a scramble of trying to get what they want to get. And my response is like, well, then shouldn't play as many lineups and get one lineup right, and then
Right.
get three lineups right, and then get
Yeah.
five lineups right. You should be playing 150 lineups. Same thing that I would say when people ask, someone will ask me a half an hour before a slate how certain things in lineup HQ work. I go, truthfully, I don't think you should use lineup HQ today.
Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing there.
Right.
Yeah.
I would suggest that you for the next slate, start working on it on Monday and start
Yeah.
learning the features of it. Watch a video. We have tutorials,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
But half an hour before the slate isn't the time to learn how to
Yeah.
use this tool
Yeah.
properly. But it's the same. But it's like I told the two people, like, and these are people that have already learned a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you've skipped over steps. Like basically, I'm saying you have skipped over steps.
Right.
Like you've tried to fast track too much. You think you're ready, but you're
Yeah.
not ready. Like
Yep.
getting back to the very beginning, look how I built my lineups yesterday.
Yeah. That's how I used to build mine too. I mean, not exactly like that, but I would write down the players I was interested in, little like these are my player pools, the players I want to play back when I was hand building for sure. It was all I used to find it just that much easier written down. I felt like I had a better handle on things when I actually wrote things down. These days I rarely do that just because I know how to use Fantasy Cruncher pretty
Right.
well. So and it's all, all the information that I look at is mostly there, so I don't really do it anymore. But yeah, that's when I was hand building, that's exactly what I did.
And you were profitable hand building.
Yeah, I was.
right? So like that's so like I could do it this way. I could do 150 lineups. I could build 3 lineups only. I mean I know I don't have the exact numbers on here, but I know it's like, okay, who are the most highest projected players? Who are the lowest in my pool? I keep on going. I'm like, do I want to play James Robinson in all 20 lineups? Let me make the next lineup without James Robinson. Like, but the way that I got good with lineup HQ and optimizers is by doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
right.
like you couldn't. This allowed me to now step and go. How do I convert this into 20 lineups in lineup HQ,
Right.
or whatever, Opta Fantasy Cruncher or whatever? And it's like, well, if you skipped over that first step of writing it all down and tracking everything and learning how to build good lineups to begin with,
Yeah.
how are you ever going to just walk into an optimizer and just go, I want to? It'll end up being chaos.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it takes you to. I mean, I told another person. I'm not constantly. I ask me stuff. Said you need to spend an entire year just hand building. Just don't even use, and like you don't even understand the concepts of how to even build a plus EV lineup. Your lineups are just like you're trying to manipulate stuff and not even understanding what you're doing. Build one good lineup. That until to this day I don't believe they've done it. I say it knowing that the type of person that's asking me this question is never actually going to do that.
Right.
Because they don't have the work ethic, right? They want to continue trying to skip steps. And that's why that broken, like, it doesn't, broken window theory is not, like, exactly applicable, but I in my head, I view it as, like, if you have
slippery
graffiti,
slope.
right, if you have graffiti on your stuff, if you have, if you're working on a setup, like, it's like, oh, I'll do 150 lineups on my phone.
Right. Well,
yeah,
I can do it on my phone though. I can do my process on my phone.
Right.
So
but you're at the level where you could imagine you weren't, and you're just like,
right. Yeah. After using Fantasy Cruncher for a year and a half, I got to the level where I could do it on my phone. Yeah.
Right. But getting yourself into the habits of doing it the right way, and by the time you get to the 12th step, by the time it's 5 years from now, you'll look back and go, well, I could do everything in 10 minutes. And like it doesn't feel rushed usually, unless some guy's 3 minutes before like Paul George is out, and then next thing you know, everyone feels rushed like that. But you wouldn't be in that situation if you took all the steps. But when you mention all the steps, I don't want to help anyone where their reaction is, really? Right? I want to have the person that's like, this is what I'm doing. And
I'm willing to put in the work. Yeah.
I'm willing to put in the work. And there's several people that I remember from 4 years ago, 4 years ago, that I talked to about these very concepts. They ask me questions. I ask them questions. They're making more money than I am now. Right? They're posting more screenshots than I am. And it's like, now they are. Back then they were playing with a $1,000 to $5,000 bankroll, and now they're live finals. Of course they want to do that. I'm not a big fan of that anyway, but it's like it took them it takes that time, right? I talked to like Peter Hubro. Like he played the fucking quarter arcade. Like I mean, like
did he really?
Like 3 or 4 years ago, he was playing the quarter arcade.
Yeah.
Right now, fucking who knows how much money he's made in DFS.
He's made a lot. Yeah.
Right, but if you can't beat the quarter arcade, how do you beat the normal GPPs?
So I will say I never played the quarter arcade very much. I immediately jumped into playing the $10 contest or whatever had the high payout structure and just playing 4 or 5 entries in that before I moved up, just because I had no interest in turning $2 into $100 or whatever. I wanted to really make bigger money. So I think that there is some aspect of. But
if someone someone out of the gate wanted to be 150 maxer, you'd do that in the quarter.
That's
you'd
the place
learn
to
that
learn.
in that.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right. Because I'm the same. I'm the same with you. Like when I was playing large field GPPs, I mean it's the same concept I do now. I mean like I'm not playing 150 lineups. I would play 10, right?
Yeah.
I'm playing a baseball slate. I'm playing 10 GPP lineups,
Right.
right? And I'm hand building them, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But when I convert it into, oh, I could play 150 line, like trying to play that style, I'm playing $37.50. I mean,
Yeah.
like I'm not
It
going to
makes
play
sense.
for
Yeah.
$1,500. I mean, that wasn't my bankroll. I couldn't play at
Yeah. You
that
shouldn't
level.
jump in playing,
Right.
$3,000 or whatever it
But
is
the
on a
same
given day.
concepts
Generally.
to hand build those 10 lineups for the $10 contest is the same concept as building 150 lineups for the quarter con. I mean, it's the same
Right.
field size. So
Yeah.
it's like once you okay, what's leverage,
Yep.
what's correlation, what's all these concepts, and you just hand. That's why I could just do an NFL and just put it here. I could still
Yep.
build line. I could. Okay, I have Albert Wilson in this lineup because instead of the Dolphins, because of the leverage off of Gaskin and Gesicki and Parker. So it's like, okay, well, in my Wilson lineup, I'm going to have I could have James Robinson in this lineup because I don't have the Gaskin chalk or the Parker chalk or the Gesicki chalk. So James Robinson's fine in this lineup. And then I could go, now that I have Wilson in the lineup, I don't need to play Gabe Davis in this lineup because I'm playing a cheap receiver. If I'm not playing Gabe Davis, maybe I don't play that game at all. So I don't have Allen and I don't have DJ Moore in that lineup. And then you just build the lineup and then you just use all the concepts. And it's like, well, once I get rid of that, who are the higher projected plays? It's like, okay,
Right.
Kyler Murray, Christian Kirk, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I need a tight end. Zach Ertz. I'll play the Jaguars defense. I'll move off of them if I need to, but they're correlated with James Robinson. And it's like, okay, I need another running back. And then like you've looked at the projections. You could see who projects higher than others. So once you start piecing stuff together and you go, well, now I have all the ownership leverage I need. So it's like fucking jamming here's
picks.
Jeff Wilson and there's the Davante Adams. And okay, let me move on to the next lineup. And like once you do that, then it just comes down to hopefully at the end of my 20 lineups, I don't have 17 lineups with the same guy in it, unless I don't want that. But once you're doing it by hand, you're keeping track of that. So you're like, what do the lineups look like that don't have this guy in it? Well, I need to pay up at wide receiver then. If I don't have that guy in it, I need to pay down at tight end. If I don't have this, and then you start learning what the constructions would look like, and you go, okay, I do want to play a Tua Gesicki. Like I played a Tua Gesicki Parker lineup, right? Which is going to be very popular. It's like, okay, I don't want to play Gabe Davis in this lineup. I don't want. Do I play James Robinson in this lineup? Probably not. But what's a way for me to play James Robinson in this lineup? By getting different.
Hasty.
Oh, yeah, definitely that. No, I played Jamison Crowder as a run back.
Yep.
And he was like 3% owned. And it's not Michael Carter because Michael Carter was being used more as the run. Once you do that, once I put Crowder in there, I know I'm sacrificing some projection. I'm going to make that up by playing James Robinson in the lineup. But now I'm playing like some weird defense that's only 3%. Like, once you plug it in, I'm like, this lineup should be decently projected and decently lower owned. Move on to the next lineup. Like, if you can't even do that process, like, that's all an optimizer is simulating that process and giving you those lineups. Even though I swear there's no way in my process that I end up plugging in Dare Ogbunawale, but
well, that's a difference in our styles,
right?
And it's also because I'm playing the Millie and I'm trying to find.
But you're doing it with numbers. I mean, I could get there also, but you're doing it with the numbers. Me, I'm building 20 lineups where there's certain people I'm just Xing out because they project too low, or I just don't need that leverage. So I just don't end up playing them because they're like the 17th running back on my list, and it's like I could just stick with the top 8. The top 8, and then the 11th guy is like a leverage play off of some high owned, right? When the wide receiver's high owned and the running back isn't. And it's like, okay, they project decent enough. I could use that for that. But like before you use Fantasy Cruncher, is the process that I'm describing very similar to you hand building?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it's exactly how I was hand building. I was figuring in how much chalk I could use based on which other plays I was playing and trying where can I get different in my construction. And yeah, for sure, I was using a lot of those same concepts when I was hand building, and I still hand build some of my lineups here and there. But yeah, that all is exactly Exactly right. Exactly what you're trying to do with an optimizer is just get it to spit out 150 of those lineups. I've heard you say this before. That's what you're trying to do with an optimizer. You're trying to make 150 lineups that you would make if you were hand building 150 lineups, which is exactly right. Easier said than done, but yeah, I agree with you that if your goal is to be a 150 maxer, it definitely makes sense to start with the quarter arcade or the nickel or one of those cheaper. When I started hand building, I didn't even know that 150 maxing was something that was like allowed, something that you could do. Maybe it wasn't when I started. I mean, I started in 2013, so the goal was just a little bit different at that point.
But if you would have jumped right into using Fantasy Cruncher and 150, you would
Oh,
have to think that you wouldn't have been anywhere near as good as you would have been if you weren't
no,
hand building for 2 or
I would
3
have
years
lost my
before
whole
that.
bankroll. Yeah,
Right.
for sure. Yeah,
So your hand building experience of applying the game theory concepts
yeah,
like that
very
help
helpful.
that makes it so you could use the tool better.
Gives you the foundation of this is how I think about lineup construction, building lineups. Yeah, for sure. You need to put in the work. I agree with you. No disagreement there for sure.
So put in the work. We put in the work, right?
Yeah,
You should put in the work enough that you get to a point where you're able to actually end up putting less work.
yeah.
It's a weird way of putting.
I mean, we both talked about MLB. We can do it in like 10 minutes.
Right.
Like I've had very successful MLB slates where I literally make all my lineups in 10 minutes because I know how to do that in MLB and Fantasy Cruncher.
I feel if there was a curve, like as far as like effectiveness versus work, it's very steep in the beginning. Like it starts like here, and in the
Yep.
beginning, it's a very steep upslope. So it's like
Yep.
you feel like when I say look at results DB every day, study CSVs, go through this, like it's like wow, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of,
Yep.
and you do that, and you may feel like this for like 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year at different seasons because different sports have different nuances, and you go
Yeah.
up like this, and then you hit a point where you finally understand why you're doing the work,
Right.
and now you start seeing success. You're at the year or 2 year point, and it's like now I'm getting now you seem to be playing. You check results DB, and it's like your lineup set looks very similar to other sharp players,
Yeah.
and he's like and now you're contest selecting better. You're like you see your rotor
Yep.
tracker start going up. Maybe you get one big spike, you bing something. Now your work level starts coming down.
Yep.
Right? Now it's actually now it doesn't feel as hard anymore. It feels
Yeah.
like this thing that normally took you 10 minutes before now only takes you 2 minutes because you got so
Right.
good at just going look, I got it. Right? Look at that tool, look at this thing, got it. And now the work starts coming down and down and down. And then once you get to the when you start being really good, you almost feel like, holy shit, am I doing enough work? Because it feels
Right.
like it's almost too
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like,
That's
oh,
exactly how I feel
I
with
made everything
MLB.
so efficient that my
Yep.
process could work in like 10 minutes. And you're like, this feels like I'm almost making shortcuts, but it's really not. You made a zip file, right?
Yep.
You made a compression of everything you've learned for 5 years, and you were able to weed out all that stuff that wasn't important, and then really condense to make your process just like bang, 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 bang. And I'm
Yep.
confident in what I'm doing. Enter the contests.
And the nice thing is, for the most part, the work that we're talking about, I enjoy it. So, like looking at the results, I enjoy looking at what other pros did, or at the time, pros. I wasn't a pro. Seeing what they did that was different than what I do, I'm really curious to see what are the better players doing. What did I maybe miss? What did they see that I didn't see? So it doesn't really feel. And watching videos. I mean, that was a big part of it for me. I spent many years watching hours of video. I still spend, usually an hour and a half to 2 hours a day watching videos. So, and I enjoy that. I mean, I don't watch videos of people that I don't enjoy their personality. I don't think that they are smart. If there's somebody on a show and I just don't think that they know what they're talking about, I'm not going to watch that video. I listen to smart people. I watch videos of smart people and people that I think I can learn from. So it's not difficult work for me, at least. Do you agree with that? The work you have to put in for DFS is generally enjoyable.
I mean, why wouldn't it be? I mean, I I've normally listened to talk radio for most of my life, so it's like to me podcasts, like I could just absorb and like leave them on for 8 hours,
Yeah.
right? So like I most of the time I'm not watching the video of any shows around the industry. I'm just listening to the audio, and that's why
Right.
I
Right.
could like when you tell me
Yeah,
to
that's what I
listen
mean.
to every
I'm
show
not
in the
usually watching the
industry.
video either. Yeah.
Right, but I'm like, yeah, I just leave it. I'm not listening to get who to play. I'm just listening,
Right.
and I
How do
personally
they talk about it? Yeah.
right, and I personally I prefer the shows that are at the very end or the very beginning. Like I like the like for me like for NFL, my favorite shows are the review shows on like
Yep.
Mondays, like this type of show maybe
Right.
when we do,
Yeah.
uh, or the shows very late where we have the most amount of information and it's people talking about like
Yeah.
contrarian strategy, like
Right.
strategy ish type of stuff. Like Wednesday, that doesn't matter because nothing is confirmed or anything. Like
Right.
there's nothing to gain out of this other
It's
than we
all going to be
think.
irrelevant pretty soon
Right, it's all
anyway.
going to
Yeah.
be irrelevant, so it doesn't matter. Like that's why it went from the work. Like for an NFL week, like the work should begin. Like we're talking about how simple it becomes, where I could just show up on Sunday morning, have not even I don't even know who's playing, and still make
Yeah.
profitable lineups, right? But it used to be that on Monday, look at results DBs, review Monday was a review day, so I just
Hmm.
spend time reviewing. This is just if we just used NFL weeks as an example. Tuesday was a first look, like let me build my dummy lineup and enter contests, and just look at the like just not look at projections, not look at anything, just look at the salaries and go, can I just point out the inefficiencies? Right, this
Yep.
guy's out, this guy's in. Yeah, that seems too cheap for that guy. Right, most
Yep.
likely he's gonna like I think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Who the fuck knows? So I start plugging stuff in, and I'm like, okay, but that's all I do on like. There's no like there's no NFL. Everything that I could look at is going to be in the projections. So like,
Right.
there's nothing for me to look at. So it used to be I would look at the projections on Tuesday. I would go, and I would try to strategize and go, people are going to do this, I'm going to do that. Then on
Yep.
Wednesday, I'm going to think more about, it don't take that much time. You're like, oh, if people are going to do that. I listen to some shows. Oh, if they're going to play that, I could do this. And they're going to like, and then on Thursday, like if you're doing all of that until you now at the time in the beginning, you feel like you're doing work and it's benefiting you. You're
Yep.
really in tune with what's going on with the slate. I listen to this
Right.
show. Yeah, I think a lot more people are going to be on this. I think obviously with the style I play, this means a lot more because predicting what the field is going to do is how I
Yeah.
learn how to
I mean, me
play.
too. I play the same way.
Right.
Yep.
But in the beginning of when I played NFL, that was the process. And I felt like Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, like I really got a feel on the good contrarian strategies of this slate.
Yep.
And I really got because I listen to everything. I've looked at every projection. I know, and then I could build stuff then, knowing that if Julio is out, I'm playing Zacchaeus. If like I'm building, it's if thens, and then I'm good. And then like once you do that more and more, like on Tuesday, I'm not even looking at anything because
Right.
those strategies, it's ingrained in your like you're doing it
Yeah.
often enough that
Right.
it's like that you could look at something now quicker. Now instead of Tuesdays, you're just taking off.
Yeah.
So then Wednesday, you're first looking at it, and then a month or two go by, you're taking Wednesday off because you could look anything that you're looking at on Wednesday, you could see on Thursday and come up with just as quickly. And then 3 years, 4 years later of playing NFL, I could just show up Sunday morning and be
Yeah.
able to look at everything and anything that I would have compiled over the course of the week, like I could do in a half an hour. So like,
Yeah.
so why am I wasting all that time? But it's not wasting that in when you're learning, it's not wasting time because you have to learn how to do something in 5 hours first before you could then do it in 3 hours, do it in 1
Yeah.
hour. Very similar to poker. In the beginning, like and I played live primarily. Uh, I used to study every hand that was played. A lot of people don't pay attention to the hands that are played at the table when they don't have a hand.
Right.
I would follow intensely.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't
I
look
can
like
imagine.
I'm not staring or
Yeah. Yeah.
anything, but I'm just like fold, like and seeing what hands show up. Okay, he raised there.
Yep.
That woman called, and then try to like recreate. Like he probably has a hand like this. She probably has a hand like that. This person folds. He probably had like, and really going through, because when I learned
Yep.
how to play online, I studied all my hand histories. So I was looking like what could and then you throw it in Poker Tracker. You could do a lot of stuff like that. But I used to focus a lot, and it would take a lot of mental energy. It would be like,
I'm
this is
sure. Yeah.
exhausting to
Yeah.
like study every hand as it's happening. And then sometimes you don't even get a showdown. So it's like,
Yep.
I don't know. Was he bluffing there or was he not bluffing there? I don't know. But in study, so many people aren't doing that.
Yep.
I'm picking up like oh, he shows pocket sixes for the set at the end, and it's an uneventful hand until I realized that he raised under the gun. I'm like, okay, this guy raises under the gun with pocket sixes. Okay, so now I know his positional hand range more.
Yep.
But I wasn't even in the hand. But to do that over an 8 to 10 hour period of playing poker is fucking exhausting.
Yeah.
It felt like that curve. It felt like work,
Yep.
right? But once you're playing 8 to 10 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week, like, dude, I could be going like this, and I could it almost becomes magical.
Yeah.
And like after a year of playing, 2 years of playing, it almost feels like you have a sixth sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm barely.
I never got to this point, so I'm agreeing
Right.
with you only in I
In
can
theory.
see how that would happen. Yeah.
Right.
Theoretically.
Right. I could leisurely watch the table. I typically have a podcast on in one ear,
Yep.
and watch the table. I'd still talk or whatever like that, and I wouldn't go, he raised with pockets. Like it would. I wouldn't even verbalize it. It wouldn't even feel like I saw it even. Yet I was absorbing from just because I just did it so much all the time that
Yep.
next thing you know, it's like my hand reading skills was like my best skill. I would play no limit games, and someone would make a bet like this, and I go, "That's impossible," and I'm folding the second nuts, going that it is literally impossible for this person to have any that I could beat any hand of his. Like, and then calling people with jack high and winning, right? Going that
Right.
this is either the nuts or there's a completely polarized range. Like, I've seen this person play for the past 6 hours, not even studying intently, but knowing all of the proclivities of their raising style, their profile of play, and I'm like, either this is quads, or he missed his like bottom end straight or something. It's an open end straight draw with 8-9 or some there's something like that. His betting pattern this entire time does not match anything that I've seen before from him that would state that either he is so confident or he has a hand that I could beat, right? Because he literally doesn't have any showdown value. And then I call, and then and people look at me and they go, "How the fuck did you call with that hand?" I said, "Well, it was the best hand." But it's saying that you don't start from. But the point is, you don't start from there.
Right. You don't
You
have
start
that
from the
intuition
word like
before you've been studying people.
right. But people don't want to get to the table and go like I wouldn't even be opposed. I mean, it's a little faux pas at live tables. Bring a notepad. Literally bring a notepad and have a notepad and draw a table. Put seat numbers on it. Feel free to take notes. And they go, "Don't you think that's a little excessive?" I said, "Do you want to be profitable at this?"
Right.
I mean, what does it take? Like, and that's the broken windows theory. Like, to me, it's like, if you're not willing to bring,
Yep.
if you're not willing, I had one guy that I coached in poker that wanted me to coach him in poker. I knew he was a bad player. But he was a nice guy. So it's like, I'm not trying to be an ass. So I said, "Okay, this is what I want you to do." And I ran the room. So it's like, I said, "You don't have to worry about paying the time fee, like the rake. It's instead of taking per pot, you took it per half an hour." I said, "You're going to sit down in that 1-2 no limit game, and you're going to fold every hand for 8 hours." I said, every single hand. So I want you to look at your cards. I want no one to notice that you're literally folding every hand. So I want you to just sit there and fold one. It's going to cost you $3 a round, okay, to fold every hand. You don't have to pay the time. You don't have to pay $8 an hour to play. I'm just going to waive that because I know that you're just sitting there and literally doing nothing. He lasted about 90 minutes before
Because
he
he was
came
too
up to
bored?
me and said, because he asked me before, he said, even if I have aces, I go, yeah, you're going to look at your cards and you're going to fold them every single hand.
Yep.
And he lasted 9 minutes and he said, I don't think I could do this. I
You
said,
say
then
90 or 9?
90,
Okay, good,
an
good.
hour and a half.
That's
He
what I heard the
lasted.
first time. Okay, good.
Right. He lasted 90 minutes and then said, I can't just sit here and not play any hands. I said, then you're never going to be a good player. I said, what happens if you
Yeah.
don't get any spots to play hands? Right? What happens if you've been getting garbage, 9-4 and 2-7 and whatever the fuck, you finally pick up ace jack suited, and you're
You're gonna be
you're
desperate
faced
to
with
play.
3 bets.
Yep.
Like you're folding. Like I know you, right? Talking to him,
Yeah.
it's the best hand you've seen in 90 minutes, and you say, no, this isn't the spot to come in, right? Next thing you know, you're going to be limping in. Next thing, you haven't seen a hand, and you're playing 10-9 in middle position to an open limper with 5 guys behind you, 2 of them extremely aggressive. It's like you should be folding 10-9 suited, but it's 10-9. You're not going to learn how to. If you want to beat these games, you have to learn that first. You have to first learn how to be tight. And that's what I said to him. I said, because he'll say, I've seen you do this. I've seen you play like this. I said, once you know the rules, you could you know when to break the rules.
Yeah.
Right? But if you don't know the rules yet, like, and I'm talking to someone where it's like they're seeing me playing games where I'm raising with air, 3-betting with nothing, sometimes showing down really weird hands that hit the nuts. And he goes, I don't see you doing any of that. I said, have you? I said, you didn't watch the first 3 years of me playing poker.
Right.
I said, the first year of me playing poker, I would sit down here and people would look at me and wonder why I'm there. And anytime that I was in a pot, it was extremely noticeable. Because it's like, and if I value bet, no one called me, right? Because
I am sure. Yeah.
right. But that's I learned the value of position. I learned the relative value of hands. I learned it, and then I learned how to take it. People would try to bluff me too much, right? So I started lowering my hand ranges to call. You know, if I raised and then checked on the flop, people just assumed I had ace king, right? So you know what I started doing? Started back checking ace king, so they'd bet into me on the turn, and then call them down twice, and they have like second pair with only 3 outs, and I'd get more money that way. Yet if I bet on the flop, they would have folded. Like, but I didn't do that in the beginning.
Right.
I learned the basics very, very distinctly from 2+2 books, that type of thing, to like play as tight as possible. And then now I know that other people perceive me as tight. How could I exploit them? Because they think I'm too tight. And then once you do that, now you start making they think I'm disguising, I'm raising on the button, open raising with 7-8 suited, but everyone at the table is not aware, and they go, oh, the tight player raised. And then the flop comes like ace, queen, 2. They check, I bet, and they fold because they have to assume that I have an ace because I'm the tight player, right? Yeah. And then it's like, okay, now I can start picking my spots, right? Like, but you had to get the basics. You had to work on the very basic stuff first.
Yep.
And to me, that's the number 2 thing. Like, other than degeneracy, it's it seems like people get to like the 3-month mark, like get to the 90-minute mark, and go, I can't play like this.
Yeah, and people don't have the patience, I think, to learn to be good. On top of even people who are willing to put in the work. I think there are people who are willing to put in the work until they haven't been successful in 3 months, and then they maybe think, I'm just not going to get there. Maybe this isn't for me. I'm not a good player. So I think that's the other place where people are.
They're not getting positive reinforcement.
Exactly, they need the positive reinforcement. Yep.
But to me, the positive reinforcement should be that when you study CSVs and results DB, that when you're losing, all the sharp players are losing also.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I love that. The best part to hear on Slates Where I Lose is listening to shows with sharp players and hearing how bad they did.
Yeah, right.
Right? If you won a lot of money on a slate where like everyone,
I mean, yesterday
right? Yeah,
was one of
right.
those
Yeah,
like,
right. If you won money yesterday in GPBs,
yeah, in the
right,
large field GPPs, yeah.
right. But obviously
Which
there's
isn't to say that, yeah,
outlier,
there are good players who won money too. Yeah, it's just
right,
most of the good players lost money yesterday.
right. So you want to be in that company. You don't want to be in the. You want to be in the positions uh, where you're when you're winning, like you're winning being over the field and choosing lineups that are very similar. Maybe
Right.
not exactly, obviously, but like if
Yeah.
you're if I mean, if you played like if you're like I'm gonna fade James Robinson in all my lineups yesterday, you were not with the sharp players,
Right. You could have
right?
done fine, but
Right. So
right.
most sharp players hate the James Robinson chalk.
Yep.
Most of the sharp players did not eat the Parker chalk as much.
Yep.
But most of the sharp players went over on Gesicki
Yep.
because he was a tight end, and tight ends are more valuable, and you could find other wide receivers that could beat Parker.
Yep.
Now, this is me looking at results DB for a grand total of 5 minutes.
Right.
Right. I mean, but that's all I'm looking. I'm not looking. The fact that I'm making fun of you about Hasty and whatever Dare is only because I'm looking at your exposures, and it's like just because
Yeah.
you played
It stands
Hasty
out.
for 20% the
I
week
get it.
before.
I get it.
Right.
I understand.
It's for the bit. Right.
But yeah. But
But
I'm
it's
playing
not.
to win. So you were talking about NFL coaches earlier, and I wanted to relate that to DFS. You got to play to win. You don't play to lose gracefully, like you were saying about Pete Carroll on your morning show.
Right.
I don't care if it looks bad that I have JaMychal Hasty, who didn't project well and did terribly, because I know that I have my reasons for playing these bad plays.
Right. But whether or not you came in last place or came in just out of the money doesn't matter.
Exactly. I don't care about that.
Right.
If it worked out, it would have been glorious. It's usually not going to with
It would
those
have been
type of
so much.
plays.
This bit would have been so much better if you did have Duke Johnson.
Oh, it would have been, but then I would have been successful.
Well, it had to have been in the better lineups though.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. You didn't have any Mark Andrews. Right. If you had Duke Johnson and no Mark Andrews,
Yeah, right.
that
I
would
got
have
my
been
play to work out
insane.
and min cashed. Yep.
Okay. So do the work. I think that's the
Do the work. That's a good title.
No, or the broken window theory.
Sure. Throw it out there.
Right. Do the work sounds like who's going to search
Somewhat
for that?
applicable.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it even related to the broken window theory? Am I coming up with? It seems like it should be related.
Sort of like loosely. I feel like you're just slippery slope is all you're really trying to say.
Right. I'm pretty much saying that. Right. Okay, so you can follow Neil, PlayerQ, DFS on Twitter, and at Awesomeo. Live before locks or whatever.
I'll be on tonight. Yep.
You'll be on. I mean, assuming that you're listening on Monday, you'll be on tonight or Tuesday. They're playing football on Tuesday.
I'll be doing a show tomorrow.
Oh, Monday.
I'll be on a show Wednesday for the first time.
Oh, well, that's what people want. More bad football.
Yeah. Yep.
And you can follow me on Twitter at BlenderHD. And as always, the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. 15-hour audio DFS masterclass at theoryofdfs.com.